And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Biblical Hitman. It's me, Steven, here with my brother Jesse. Joining us yet again is Harley Braun. And we're excited for him to come onto this podcast and, just kill it once again. Folks, you can go ahead and check the first episode he was on. A lot of interesting experiences and encounters this young man has had. But if it's your first time here, you're returning, you haven't done so already, smash that subscribe button, like the show, share it with your friends, folks. Check us out on audio platforms as well, Spreaker, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. You can find us pretty much on everything. But Harley, welcome back, man.
Really appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah,
love you, man. You're awesome.
Love
dude.
you, buddy.
I had such a fun time last time, so.
Yeah, that was a high energy episode, and I'm ready for round 2.
We're gonna do it again.
But real quick, for the people that don't know you, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and where they could find your social medias and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I have an Instagram right now. I'm working on a YouTube. I'll probably honestly have that up soon, and I'm partially saying that because I want to hold myself accountable and do it. So I'm gonna get that set up. But my Instagram is Harley Braun _ Harley like Harley Davidson, and then Braun BRAUN _. And so yeah, I mean, I always kind of had a lifelong battle with the spiritual world, and was always very curious about it. And my pops was very knowledgeable, and I had other people around me too, growing up, and so I always was studying this stuff. And then when I got older, I started leaning away from the light a bit and getting into the dark side of it, and was kind of walking, the left-hand path, and I was into all the darkness and the allure of evil kind of, for whatever reason, was getting at me, and I kind of ate the apple for a while.
It seduced you, right?
Yeah, well, absolutely. It's exactly what it is. It's, you get into reading their propaganda, and that's what it does. They manipulate the teachings of truth, invert Christ's teaching, invert the teachings of God, and flip it on its head, literally, right? The upside down, and walk the opposite path, right? They invert everything, and they manipulate it all. And so it's very seducing, and I fell for it for a while. And got really into it, and then got really, really into it, and then I was in trouble. And then I had a bunch of the encounters and things that I was having growing up that I always had. When I got really into this stuff, it really got worse, and I had it was like nightly, sometimes multiple things a day. I would have these crazy things for years, and it just got really, really, really bad, and then I ended up having like a deliverance sort of episode, like a exorcism sort of episode. And after that, I ended up getting baptized, and I ran to the arms of the Lord. And ever since then, I've just been on a roll to do everything I can to alert the world about the evil forces of darkness that are at play, and try to, see how we can recognize that in our everyday, secular lives and otherwise, and just see how the enemy is attacking us at every angle, trying to recognize that, identify how he's going about it, and, stomp on his head.
Yes,
exactly.
Amen.
Exactly.
Hey, brother, and for the audience, Harley came on. I don't remember which episode it was, but he told his whole testimony there. So if you want to hear that whole story, go to that episode. He tells it. He breaks it all down. It is incredible. Super paranormal.
There's a lot more, though. We'll get into it.
Okay, so let's get into it. So let's get into it right now. So you were just telling us in the green room, you're like, hey, some stuff just happened last night.
Episode 26.
Episode 26.
Episode
so go
26.
back, folks.
Sean Taylor.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean Taylor.
All
hey, right tackle?
Miami. Safety.
Oh, safety. Okay, my bad.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm messing up.
But,
all right, anyways.
Yeah, I have been having a bunch of encounters recently, given that I've been, I think, talking about some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
The demons get upset about it, and like they always do, try to catch you when you're vulnerable, when you're sleeping, and they play their little games. Now, before I was so curious about it, and then when I didn't realize that, it's just a fantasy kind of world that's created by the demons, and you're just exploring it just basically to become one of them, essentially. And they kind of trap you there, and you have like an astral possession. And that was what was happening to me. It's like Coraline. It's like a lot of movies, and they talk about this. It's kind of like Stranger Things too, in a way, you know.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
wild, right?
that's how it works.
There's
It's
like these little
that,
depictions of truth in these films, these movie films that
oh
Hollywood
yeah,
pushes out. And a lot of it is kind of like being taken over by shows. I mean, because movies kind of, I think, they're not phasing out, but I do think with all these shows that come out, man, that they're
Yeah.
all mystical.
People have their shows. They get hooked on shows. They get seduced into watching these.
it's Satan's play. You know, you're sitting in front
Maybe
of
that's why I
his
hate shows. I
showing
can't
with
watch
his
shows.
agents
Yeah.
working
And
his
the acting
magic
is
to
for me.
seduce you.
It really
Yes.
is. Man.
You know, that's all it is.
Exactly right. I believe we talked about that. Exactly everything we're talking about now. We talked about it in episode 26.
Spider-Man, like Spider-Man 3, where he gets the black suit, is literally just the story
Yes.
of dabbling in the occult. That's literally the whole idea. The black goo gets on you, then you can't get it off.
Dude, you
and
just
you need to
said
literally
that?
bang the Liberty Bell to
Dude,
get it
you-
off of you and
you
have a
literally just
deliverance
said-
in this exorcism to rip it away from you. That's
where did the bells
exactly
go?
what it is.
Where'd the
Yeah.
bells go?
Oh, you
Yeah.
know that.
Well,
You
I
know
want
where
to
they
bring
went.
this up too, since you brought up Black Goo.
Where'd the bells
I
go?
think I know we were getting
We
into
always see
your
this.
new stuff, but dude, let's talk about the Black Goo just for a second. So
Boom, Venom.
the Black Goo, dude.
It's the
I
story of
think it-
Venom.
Exactly.
The
but you
fallen, they came here, the aliens, you know, and they have their symbiotic, you know, singularity legion that latches on, and then they take over and they set up, you know, they provide a power to these people, you know, through this dual spirit that is, you know, they're having going on, where they're, you know, there's two forces at play working in their soul here.
Yeah, I
Right,
think
they're
it's
possessed.
Exactly what it is.
They become
and
possessed.
that's what that's exactly, and that's why the occult says, "Oh, you need to be walking the balance, good and evil." That's because sometimes they're over here and sometimes they're over here, but the whole time they're possessed by a demon.
What's the Kabbalah tree? They try to go right up the middle. You know,
right.
yeah.
And you obviously have the two left and the right side.
They
But
try
then
to
it
keep
all
the
just goes back under one, right?
duality.
It's just-
It's
yeah.
all the teachings of Lucifer himself, and it's played out by his agents here at work.
Well, dude, this
know?
Black Goo, man. So I was watching the movie Lucy the other day. I was at work, bored, watching Lucy. It's Scarlett Johansson. She's this girl in this movie who is like, you know, low class. and-
Everybody knows who Scarlett Johansson is.
Right. No, right. But in the movie,
Oh,
she's
sorry,
like
sorry,
she's
sorry, I get what you're saying.
she's like
Yeah.
this you know, street
Yeah.
girl, right?
Right,
And
right,
so
right.
she gets captured by this you know, this Korean mafia or whatever it is, right?
Right.
And then they pack her like a mule with this drug that she was trying to transport, but she was set up to.
Right.
But that chemical that she was transporting ends up breaking inside of her, and she becomes she becomes in this process of building singularity. And what fascinated me the most, man, and I had to wait all the way to the end of the movie to see it, but as she's reaching, because throughout the whole movie it shows you 5%, 15,
Right.
20.
Opening her
You're
brain.
climbing the ladder to
You're
gnosis
climbing the
to become
ladder.
one with Satan,
Gnosis,
the god
wow.
of light.
Exactly. Here's
That's
the
what
crazy.
they're trying to get to the Ein Sof. there.
Exactly.
The gnosis. That's a great wordplay.
That's
you
what it
just did
is.
there. Yes.
Gnosis.
Exactly.
That the tree of
Exactly.
gnosis is the tree of death that Satan wanted to kill Adam and Eve by giving them to eat.
It's
Wow.
wild,
That's
dude.
that's the whole story. He could
Wow.
try to kill him right away and say, if you eat from it, you won't die. And she says, well, God said he will. Well, did he really say that? You know,
Right.
instead of killing her, you punished him. But
you know what's crazy is at the ending there,
So
as
much.
she's reaching 100%, right? She's like full download. Her whole
full
body,
Rosicrucian.
her whole body starts to turn black.
Oh wow!
It's
I don't remember that.
It's a black goo that looks like it's just covering her. And then
She's
it becomes
completely
this
consumed by this
singularity.
demon.
Wow, I did not know that.
Exactly.
I do not remember
She's
the movie. I watched
completely
it like
merged
twice.
with this demonic entity that's gifted her this knowledge, allowing her
Right.
to transcend or ascend in their evil satanic terminology.
I love it how the Christians can watch that movie and know exactly what's going on, but the only other people can watch that movie that knows exactly what's going on is demons and people of the occult. Like,
Well, that's because that's where it's at. These are the two forces at play. You have right and wrong, good and
Right.
evil, right here,
Yeah.
black and white,
Right,
light and
right.
shadow,
and then everybody in between, which is most people.
death and life, right there.
Right.
Yeah. It's like they're watching the movie and they're like, I would have wrote it this way. It would have been better. It's like, what? They know the occult. They're seeing it. The practices that are,
right.
Transformers,
the people, the cultists,
Revenge of the
cultists,
Fallen.
Right.
The whole Transformers series is literally the story of the fallen angels.
Right. Right. And they play them on as the good guys.
Exactly what it is. Superheroes, the Superman, we're going to genetically engineer you, super soldier. Captain America is literally the Hitler project, the Hitler breeding project.
Yes.
Literally just on screen to glorify this nonsense.
Yes.
This is what it is.
It's so funny. Me and Jesse, we did an underground episode. It's not aired yet to the public.
I don't know if it will be.
I don't know if it will be. But anyways, we were talking, or he brought up the theory of dams and why they're building these dams, and the fact that a lot of these dams worldwide, where they're built, there's a lot of significance to it. But the interesting thing is that
hiding
a dam is just like a valve, right? It's pretty much a valve.
Yes.
Right. And
big wall and a valve. Bunch of valves and a big wall.
Yeah, and there's a lot of communities that are in parish because of dams flooding their ancient ancestors. I mean, ruins of civilization
behind the dam.
Yeah, exactly. So
an intentional destruction,
right?
Of history.
Or cover up, or hiding, or whatever. Exactly. Right? There's
the mud flood sort of idea.
Are you going to play that video? Do you got it?
I don't have it up. I don't have it up. No.
It's like a 4-minute video, but it's a great video.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's an interesting topic to get into, because I bring that up because you mentioned the movie Transformers. Mm-hmm. The black cube was hidden inside the Hoover Dam.
Oh, right. That's right.
The black cube.
And what did they call it? Did they not just straight up? They called it Metatron, right? Or the Allspark, right?
But Metatron was down there as well with the Allspark.
And Megatron is Nimrod in the story. He's Baal, the guy who's always alive, and then he's literally resuscitated. Right, the same way that the Antichrist will be. His body is taken and resuscitated and put into a new body to have the same role. He who never really dies, right? And that's his whole deal with all the different names and every,
Right.
And it's Galvatron.
Really?
And he comes back as Galvatron. So the story always continues. Yeah, so Megatron turns to Galvatron. But anyways, it's just Transformers stuff. So it's literally the whole story. Lore. It's called Revenge of the Fallen. The second one is literally called that. And they go to Egypt, and in the pyramid, it was locked away. The piece that was not cut off for the Osiris story, essentially, and then that gets put in him, and he's brought to life, and he's resurrected, right? And so all of this is the same deal.
Wow,
same deal.
Yes. Same story.
Crazy.
It's all the same story.
It's always the same. But go ahead. Someone talk about something different.
But, so anyways, let's circle back to the beginning of the episode. Let's circle back to the beginning.
The Biden campaign.
You said that there's been a lot of things going on, especially since you've been kind of out and about. You've been on some shows, right? Mm-hmm. You've been out and about. You've been practicing.
Yeah, I didn't even know
your communication skills here. Like you're getting a message out, right?
Trying to.
And the main message is that Jesus Christ is Lord, right?
Amen.
And he came, he died for our sins, right? But there's so many other interesting things of the supernatural realm that we love to get into. So take us away. What's your experience has kind of been like now that you've been kind of exposing more publicly, right?
Yeah, trying to expose the fruitless deeds of darkness.
Yeah.
Right? That's all I was trying to do. You'll know them by their fruit, right? Mm-hmm. And so I've just been researching really hard. Reading as much as I can, collecting all the books I can before they don't let you get them.
Yeah,
literally,
that's true.
Fahrenheit 451, baby boy.
That's right, and talking to as many people as I can in any way possible to get the word out to sound the alarm about this, because, I'm not saying that it's here or tomorrow, but we're getting into a time where it's about to be getting a lot worse. It's certainly getting no better. And your understanding of the spiritual warfare, and the battle that's going on for your soul is so unbelievably important. And a lot of people just have no care in the world about it. And I think that's such a shame. And to anybody who's interested, I try to talk to them about it for whatever reason, just because I'm curious to hear what people are thinking. Yeah, I want to hear what people are saying. And I want to hear if people are getting into it. And I found that a lot of people are coming around to the Word. You find a lot of people now getting to the Bible. Everybody's having questions. And I think that some of the information war has been backfiring on the demons, because a lot of people are finding truth, because people are willing to speak about this. And I love it, and it fires me up. And I'm trying to do the best to take my stand in the fight with them, because that's absolutely what it is. It's a war. It's a war on information, because the truth is so important, and that's why they will cut anybody's tongue out who talks about it.
Yep.
Christ told them, "You're the sons of the devil," and they killed him for it. And that's all there is to it.
Right. And Jesse, we were talking the other day, and we're talking about this new world order, right? We're talking about how's this stuff kind of gonna happen. We obviously know that it's kind of pushed through propaganda. We know that it's functioned through psyops. We know that there's inches gained every day, right? For,
to say the least,
this entity that's kind of brewing. But what happened? What was it, today or yesterday? It was yesterday.
This morning, right? I think, or yesterday.
Was it this morning?
I think it was today.
It's within 24 hours, I
right?
think. But
last 24 hours.
There was a shooting, right? Where was the shooting?
Shooting in DC at the embassy,
at the Jewish Museum.
Right. Oh, I got the article right here. So I'll screen share this and I'll give it a little read.
This is a fascinating one.
This is fascinating.
I have a lot to say about it.
The script is well written and easily recognizable.
Brother, I'm gonna. Okay, let me just jump right into that. So they're doing, it's the same exact playbook as 9/11. It's the same playbook. What did they just do to Palestine? We're creating extremists. We're creating jihadists. We're creating these shooters.
You guys see it, right? It's up.
Yes, I see it.
Okay, cool.
So these two people from Israel were shot.
Right.
And unalive.
So this is the New York Times. It says what we know about the deadly shooting outside the Jewish Museum in DC.
I thought it was specifically at the embassy. So I mean,
it says right here. It says
they worked for the embassy. The guy.
They work for the embassy. That's what it was.
Citizens over there.
There's a picture here
Israeli citizens.
Right. That shows the outside of the Capitol. Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. It's all blocked off. Looks like they kind of closed the whole scene. I mean, I would too for a gunshot.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
Pam Bondi and the FBI were on the scene immediately.
Really?
Yeah.
Real quick. So this is the official story. It says a gunman fatally shot 2 employees of the Israeli embassy in Washington on Wednesday night outside an event at the Capitol Jewish Museum, said by officials. The attacker, who was taken into custody shortly after the killings, shouted pro-Palestine slogans after he was detained, officials said. The FBI director, Kash Patel, referred to the killings as an act of terror.
Right.
There's that word, right? The nice little flash word in there.
Yes. So this is it. This is
encrypting.
it. So let me finish this real quick.
Sorry, go ahead.
Quick story. Quick. Long story short. What did we see during 9/11? The Patriot Act was passed. We got a high surveillance state. We have a push towards more control. What are we going to see now? Laws. We're going to see these being pushed. The type laws. We're going to see this
if
being
that happens,
pushed.
boy.
Yeah, this is the thing. I mean, look at it. It's the same
if that
script.
Happens, boy.
It's the same script. It's not going to be the laws exactly, but it's going to be like that. Well, and we're seeing this pushed around.
Scripture says it is going to be that.
Well,
I
it
see
eventually
the souls
will.
of those who were beheaded in their testimony for Jesus Christ.
Well, this is what it is, dude. They have to inch their way into this. So what do?
Of course, that's what they always do.
They create the chaos. What is it? Problem, reaction, solution. This is it.
And they play every angle of the media to entirely dictate every understanding that the mass population has.
Yes.
And so what people need to get on is alternative news.
Us.
Legitimately.
Yeah.
Alternative news.
We'll cover some
Because
stuff.
what is news? News is demons telling you their story to make you think the demon is the victim.
Right. Through a medium.
Not saying that in this case that is exactly what but this is the strategy that they go about.
Absolutely.
You know? In no way am I trying to undermine the tragedy of the situation at all.
Yeah,
and it's not fake. It happens.
Not.
They created this.
It's not what I'm trying to. That's not what I'm trying to say at all.
Absolutely.
But these things are in fact orchestrated. And they're the results of a script being played out by actors and agents in Satan's scheme.
Right. But let's make this clear. So let's go back to that, because I wanted to make this clear. This is not
I'm talking about the media. This
is not an Alex Jones Parkland stuff. We're talking about actual events that actually happened. People actually were unalived. And it is fulfilled by an order that is designed to create the chaos. It is not fake by any means. Like, this is the most important thing to get to people. Like, this, we call it a script because it is orchestrated, but it's real events, real chaos,
you know what's
lives.
funny is I can agree with the term script, but I think a better term is protocols. So instead of a script, because a script would kind of like pertain to like a narrative, and this is what's being said.
Very well said.
But the protocols that are in set to manipulate people, you know, and there's many ways to do it. There's many ways to do it, right? There's social media rampant. I mean, I catch myself even on my phone, which I think I'm kind of conservative in a way. But you know,
we know what we're looking at, though. It's different. It's different. We know what we're looking at.
Well,
right.
Here's a quote right here about them having to tell you what their plan is in order for it to unfold. Right. This is a quote from Aleister Crowley himself. Evil must hide in plain sight, for the rules of the universe demand that the deceived must consent to their deception.
Wow.
Eve had to tempt, or Satan had to tempt Eve, right? She had to consent. Right, and so that's what's happening here, and so that is the idea of the free will that they utilize to just mind control everybody and just brainwash you.
Right.
Dude,
right?
You're awesome, Harley. Dude, I love having conversation. We're gonna have you on every other day.
Yeah,
because you're on point.
That's a great quote because it tells you, and if it's coming from that guy, good Lord.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Right. I know. Well, I think there's something definitely to it. I'm not saying that you need to listen to Aleister Crowley. I'm saying that, these people, they expose themselves, but it's some sort of like ritual to route in a different way this karmic whatever. I don't know how true that really is.
That karmic retribution sort of idea.
Right. I don't know how true it is.
Yeah.
But they believe it's true.
There's something to it, for sure.
There's this understanding behind it, and I think it has a lot to do with like the spiritual forces that are behind pretty much everything, because dang
simply
right
evil,
that there's good spirit here and there is evil spirit here. There's the Spirit of God and the Holy Spirit that is in people and that is doing good around the world and that is pushing for righteousness, and then you have the flip side, which is bigger, more destructive, a wider path, and it's getting more evil by the day. And this is like the argument that I'll bring up with some people is where, I mean, it's a pretty bad society today. And God should judge, right? Like, it's pretty bad. He judged Sodom and Gomorrah. He judged, Genesis 6, right? The flood. There's all this judgment throughout. And I'm like, why, where, and
corruption.
Corrupt, right?
The reason,
and I think that it has something to do with like the Holy Spirit being here. I think there's a battle, and the forefront of God's attack is just by doing things what we're doing right now, right? Like we're talking about, we get into the Bible, we talk about all this interesting stuff, and we just try and spread the truth, and
get it out there through again a biblical lens.
Absolutely. And you know what? There may be a falling away in the church. I said this to Stevie and my wife the other day. I'm like, listen, guys, I don't know where we are in the biblical timeline, but there may be a falling away in the church. I could totally understand that. But at the same time, just like Harley said earlier, man, do I see people, I say it a lot.
People are coming on.
Do I see people
I
wanting to grasp, they're reaching for the truth. What is the truth? I don't believe you anymore. What's the truth? And we're grasping for it. And then when you find out, and I'm getting chills, when you find out about Jesus and when you really begin to believe that is the Holy Spirit, that's when you start to be like, ain't no turning back now, baby boy. It is what it is.
Right. And some people that are very spiritual today, that have an open mind, they're like, oh, there's many different golden nuggets that you can take out of all the religions. And I disagree. I say there's one truth. Go interview people to find the truth. Go try and figure out a crime scene to find the truth. There's only one truth, dude. There's no multiple golden nuggets, all this stuff.
The thing about
lies, whatever.
Right. The thing about those other religions is like they're telling the same story. All these other religions, the real religions, the ancient religions, they're all telling a similar story. I shouldn't say the same story, a similar story. So that's right.
That's right, Jesse. And people, I suggest all people really have to study a little bit about other religions and comparative mythologies to see how true that is.
Absolutely.
Because when you get into it, it's the same story, right? Aliens came down from space, showed up, gave us knowledge. They taught us how to worship them. They taught us this and that. Yeah, you have the Sumerian. You have the Anunnaki. You have whatever you want to call them. They have a trillion names, and it's the same story of the fallen angels coming down to Earth, mating with women, creating demigods, and passing on their knowledge to their agents and their progeny here on Earth to destroy mankind and set up a new empire for the fallen angels to be worshipped, exalted himself over God, and for their children to reign over us as slaves. And that's always been the agenda. That's always been the agenda. And that's always been how the world has played out, too. And people just are not recognizing this because before people didn't have the information that's so accessible as it is today. People are coming around to this. And, and you just see it because, and again, it comes back to the Bible. And if people just knew that every other religion comes from the same story of Satan on earth, essentially, right? Nimrod, the Tower of Babel, and then the scattering of his followers to try to figure out how they're going to recreate and rebrand this same religion of worshiping he and the fallen, right?
Right.
That's all it is. And so that became all these ancient religions. Right. And those ancient religions have survived through the symbology that's been so secretively kept away by the occult and the progeny of the fallen.
Yep.
That's all it is. They just have the secrets of how to communicate with their daddies.
Yes.
That's literally what it is.
Ask yourself why Gilgamesh, the story of Gilgamesh, holds such credence in our high school education system, all over the United States country, maybe probably all over the world. But
because it's to
take you away from the actual. It's to take you away from the. It gives you some truth, but it's a similar story, but it's not. It's inverted. You know what I mean?
Sure. It's
Gilgamesh is Nimrod.
Right.
Gilgamesh is Nimrod, right? He's 2/3 demon, vampire, his dad, right as it says in the Sumerian Kings list. So it's the same character here, and he ruled the earth under one world government that was set up what is this like basically Babylonian sort of empire, this same religion that they had, and this is what it is, and the separating of that, the babbling of his following became every other religion apart from Christianity.
Okay,
that's literally what it is.
So now that we're here, what do we see with the UFO narrative, with the disclosure going on right now? People are practically worshiping. They're waiting for their saviors to show up. They're waiting for them to say, listen, I made you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you. The government's holding me back. I'm here to save you guys. That's what everybody's waiting for in that community, the New Age community.
Yeah, they're waiting on the Pleiadian Space Council.
Yeah, whatever. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All this garbage.
So what is this? Where is this going to go?
This is the deception that they've been pushing. Like Werner von Braun said on his deathbed exactly what they would do, right? That they're going to push this alien invasion, and there are the saviors of mankind that are going to send us beyond, and we're going to be able to transcend what we are now with their knowledge, and they're coming back.
Right.
and that there are saviors, the fallen angels, the demons, the principalities and powers who govern this realm, that waged war against God and are, they're the ones that people think is their savior, because they just don't realize that the fallen angels are what an alien is. Aliens are demons.
Right.
And so, and a very interesting thing is, and there's tons of information on this. Joy Pugh's got great books on it, and many
awesome.
others. She's wonderful. She's brilliant. I love her, and I love her work, and I like her a lot. I read her books.
Have you talked to her?
No, I haven't, but I would like to.
Yeah, we should.
She runs a lot off of Facebook. If you ever want to kind of like get in touch, I think Facebook's a good spot.
Interesting, but yeah, so she'll talk about her idea about exactly what I'm saying, and that's that the fallen angels are the aliens, right?
Right.
And so people that get abducted by aliens, what happens to them in that abduction is very similar to what happens with demonic abductions. It's the same idea. And what's very interesting is this is well documented. Everyone can look this stuff up. That when people are abducted by these aliens, it's generally the same story. They come and they take them. And what they'll do is, with their experimentation on these people, that they'll scrape the women. They'll take their eggs. They'll take the sperm of the man. And what that is because they are building back what they were doing way back prior, right? And this is going back to how it's going to be in the days of Noah, when the return of the Son of Man is.
Right.
And so you literally have aliens taking your DNA to do experiments, obviously probably to splice themselves into it, as they always have done. It says right there biblically that what they're going to do is they will try to cling their seed to ours, but it will not cleave, because iron doesn't mix with clay. Iron is the enemy, the demon, the technology, the merging, man and machine, AI, this promise of immortality, all these. This is the same promise that Satan gave to Eve in the first lie ever occurred in history of existence. And that's the same lie that everybody's looking forward to celebrating. They can't wait to be a part of it. They embrace the idea. They love it.
Oh, yeah.
That's because they just don't have an understanding of how precious their soul is, and they don't understand how important they are personally themselves. Every one of us is in this fight of good versus evil, particularly in the coming times it is. It says every generation that we're warring with the Amalek, the Amalekites, and that's the people who lick the blood. The blood lickers. Every generation we're warring with evil blood drinkers. And the people don't want to take a stand. It's so sad. People are just scared. I don't know. I love to talk about it. I love that people like you guys come on here and they tell the truth about it.
It's so funny. Before, it had been 10, 15 minutes ago, we were talking about like the church and all that kind of stuff. But when I think of like the Antichrist, and I think how he's going to come in and take his throne, and he's going to imitate.
Counterfeit.
Everything. Yeah, right. I would say yes. And everything is going to be like that. He's going to do everything in his power to mimic what the spiritual power that Christ had. He can't do it, but he's going to mimic it. What I mean by that is he's going to do miracles. He's going to somehow conquer death. It's not conquer death, right? Because the man of sin dies, and then Satan goes in. So it's a reincarnation. Right. So you have Satan in the flesh at that point. Right. And he's going to the church, and I'm going to have to take that word out, right, for YouTube purposes. But I say that because the church is symbolic for Christ right now. Right.
The body of Christ, his believers.
And what did Satan do to like actual Christ 2,000 something years ago?
Destroy the church.
Well, he killed him.
Right.
He made war to him.
Right.
His progeny.
Like it's going to be the same thing through this tribulation, whatever that may look like. And it's so funny, Christ gives us instructions. I think this is the most important survival instructions he gives us in this time of great tribulation, right? And this is when the abomination of desolation takes place, all this kind of stuff. And he's specifically referring to people who are living in Judah at those times. And he's like, when you see these things, like the land of Judah, right? When you see these things, run.
Yeah.
Like if you're on top of your house, don't go down into your home to get your stuff. Like stay on your roof. If if you're out in the field and you have to go back home to get something, no, go. Like it's just not nothing to play with. This is like, it's like when Harley was bringing up earlier, this is going to be like serious thing. Like there's people martyred, there's people beheaded for the love of Christ, right? And standing up for
right
that.
now today.
It's happening right now.
7,000 of them just got butchered in Syria recently.
Yeah, but like circling back around, how is the world going to come into this understanding of this universal law? And I think it's going to, I think laws are approaching. It's been talked about a lot, especially in the political realm as of recent, in the past couple of years. But I do think that, it's going to need to take more. I think the new world religion has to come in place before they make those laws like set. And then,
Right.
I feel
maybe
like
through the Abrahamic Accords.
it could, it
You know,
really,
and things
it really
like
could
this,
be.
like
It
they're
Well,
talking
that's what's
about.
happening.
They said that they want Trump to create this divine council, set it up over there, over in Jerusalem.
He said
And so what is
divine
that?
council?
Yeah, I mean that's the
Okay, so a
terminology getting
connection
used
I'm
to talking
making.
about this here. This is like like the panel of the fallen angels dictating the end of the world.
Yeah,
Essentially,
yeah.
is how
Well,
is how what that's saying there, right?
It could
So
Pretty
be.
much.
I know people refer to Mystery Babylon as the religion, but I can also see it the other way, where Mystery Babylon is like this pantheon of gods. Like Mystery Babylon, Babylon worshipped gods. It's a Mystery Babylon. It's something that, like what does that specifically mean? It could mean a religious aspect, but it, like, as far as what the world is worshiping at that time. Or is this because you said divine council somewhere? Where'd you say it was getting?
the Sanhedrin sent letters over to Trump proclaiming that he is the Messiah, and he's been given the heavenly order to do this, as well as rebuilding the third temple to crown the Mashiach, who is the Antichrist.
Right,
And all this letter is written to Trump, promised to him. We know too that we had the counterfeit, the recreated Ark of the Covenant that he had also in his crib there in Mar-a-Lago.
Was it recreated though?
Well, the real one, no, well, see, I say that because Ron Wyatt discovered the real Ark of the Covenant.
Supposedly, right?
And it's right, and it's protected by the angels, right? And when the people went in there to try to retrieve it, they were vaporized. Interesting story. It's similar with Sodom and Gomorrah, right? And so I would say that, but it says that it was recreated to the scale that they believe, but you never know. It's coming from the demon's mouth,
right?
And
did you hear about this? This was taken. This ark during wartime recently was taken to, man, where did they take it to Israel? I think it was while we were doing bombing Palestine. I can't remember which place they took it. But they were taking the ark, the ark
I
was...
think it was alleged. I don't know if there was anything like hard evidence. I know what you're saying. This is the Ark of the Covenant, right?
Yeah, they were like...
Well, we invaded Iraq in 2003 to get Nimrod's body and all of his resurrection materials.
Same thing there,
and that's Satan's body. That's going to be his DNA, right, when he was incarnate, to get resurrected. And that's why his minions, the 72 principalities who govern us, and out of the Testament of Solomon, as it says, that they're the ones who took all of his parts and put them away in these resurrection sort of chambers and things, exactly as it was described was how it was found. BBC wrote a letter on it, or wrote an article on it. You can read it online right now.
Doesn't it sound like Osiris too?
It's the same deal. It's the same character, the man of many names, right, and he's the one who stands against God.
Yeah. And what's interesting too is when this abomination of desolation takes place, I am a believer that this is going to happen in the third temple. I think this is what the purpose of the third temple is. And I stand on that because when you're reading in Matthew 24, right, and this is kind of referring back to what I was saying earlier, with Christ giving survival instructions, because the abomination of desolation just took place, and he's speaking to the people living in the land of Judah, right, at not at that specific time, but he's saying in that area, right? It's a region. And that's in Israel. Like, that's where the third temple is going to be. He's telling people that are in the closest area where this is going to take place to get out. And this is when the Antichrist, the abomination of desolation, is when the Antichrist sits in the temple of God, claiming himself that he is God,
and then weaponizes the art,
and showing signs like that.
Wow.
And that he's the God of the gods, right? So like, and that's what I'm saying.
So that ties into what I was just saying.
Well, he is the leader of the legion. So of the lowercase g gods, the council of the fallen, he is the leader of them, now, but he's isn't anything compared to.
And this is what I was trying to make a connection to what you were saying with the whole terminology of like the divine council with Trump and all this kind of stuff. Like, I think there is this mystery Babylon. There's going to be something about it to where I think this is also where the UFO thing comes into play. I think this is it could be
certainly
physical, spiritual, I'm not sure, but this is where you're going to have like this pantheon here, but then you're going to have one that rules them all, right? It's the Lord of the Rings. There's the
Lord of the Rings is literally the story of the antediluvian world, right? Pre-flood.
Yeah.
That's literally the story, right?
Well, Atlantis is coming back.
Well, that's what the Golden Age is, the rebuilding of Atlantis, the restoration of the angelic promised land prior to the rebellion.
Right. But isn't it so fascinating that like Atlantis is being talked about, like, I would say the most in the past 60
and before
years.
That, it was this myth.
Oh, yeah.
It was this myth. It's some pretend thing. Plato's crazy, even though we've kept his record forever. Yeah. You know, he didn't know what he's talking about, even though he heard it straight from the Egyptian sages. Potentially the survivors, the remnant survivors of this fallen civilization.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, the deceptive thing about Atlantis is that it was this golden age. It was all this kind of stuff, but you were being
you're a slave.
You're being governed by you were a slave. And I feel like it's very similar today with the monetary system, and we don't see ourselves as slaves, but we see ourselves as free, but we have to work to get money to then be able to do things. And to me, it seems like some sort of monetary slave system, but your senses can't pick up the fact that there's bad behind it. There's evil behind it.
You've been raised to say, whatever, I can't do anything. This is the system as it is. Let me just try to do my best to survive and make it like everybody else.
Yeah.
And that is what they want you to think. They want you to just accept this, assume that you're powerless, even though this is a system run by the 1% of people on the earth.
Oh.
And in reality, all of them are powerless. They're going to perish, right? They're going to be cast away in a lake of fire. And it's hilarious that they're having their little reign right now where they party it up on earth and they have a little bit of power because Satan and his buddies gave it to them, and they're going to go all to the same place he and them will go to, and we'll live forever because we recognize that and we chose goodness over evil and they made the wrong decision.
Right. And you know what's sad? It's the delusion. It's the delusion that is going to sweep everyone up. But I was even talking to my mom earlier today, and I was like, just getting into this topic. I was just getting into that topic of this great deception, or this strong delusion. What is it? Well, it's something that God, does to the people, to where he sends them strong delusion because they choose not to love and to go for the truth. And it's going to be a very interesting time.
It is.
It's going to be a very interesting time. Let's just circle it all the way back to this kind of this technocratic, takeover. There's going to be no more privacy, right? We're going to see privacy start to fade away. You've got artificial intelligence, which it's been here for a long, long time. I think AI has been here for 50 years.
AI is the spirit of Satan and the demon.
Right.
It is the legion.
It's
what they giving it a body. Right? The technology gives the demon a body to possess. That's why it's the iron that does not go with clay. We're the clay made of the earth, right? We don't.
Right. And this is the crazy thing, man, is that it was introduced to us, I would say 4 to 5 years ago. And where we're at now with AI from when we started, right? ChatGPT, level 1, update 1.0, whatever it
Now we got
was.
AGI and singularity on the come up.
Well, picture this, dude. We've got AI flying military aircraft now.
Yeah. Yep.
There's a situation going on here, bro. There's a situation going on here.
They're able to control who lives and who dies.
You know what the F-40
is? And they don't get a choice because it's a machine.
What's the new jet? The F-45 or F-47?
That's an antique. It's not new.
I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, they say it's being put into production.
Sure.
Next year. But anyways, I got to show you this.
How long have we had drones? The drone wars.
I have to share this. I have to share this, guys, because this is going to really point out, and this is going to show how much predictive programming like really is.
Right.
Well, just Google F-47. You'll see pictures of it. It has AI capabilities to fly the airplane. The airplane has a pilot, but there's AI integration, right? It's like what Harley was saying. You've got this integration going on. Fascinating thing is there was a movie put out about 15 years ago, probably around that time, but it was called the movie Stealth. Do you guys remember it?
Yeah, Jamie Foxx.
I don't know that
you guys remember it?
Yes.
You might
Jamie
be a little.
Foxx, yep.
You might have been a little youngster, dude. You might have been a little young, but dude, it's about this military program that's putting in AI jets in the mix of human pilots and stuff, and there's this rivalry going on.
2005.
Listen, the AI goes bad.
Right.
The AI
Terminator.
goes bad.
It always does.
It's wild.
Vicky.
It's not that it goes bad. It was made to do that.
Yes.
I mean,
it was bad to begin with.
Guys?
It tricked you.
This is like how when people start getting into conspiracies a bit and they start learning something, they're like, the government has been infiltrated. This and that. And you wait, hold on. The government was set up by the demon to work exactly as it's executed to do, and it's worked to perfection. And that's why you're so brainwashed that you still don't get it.
Yeah.
I love
it's hilarious.
Harley
and they
goes
always
for the
give
heart,
you
bro.
They always give you like the points of where it got infiltrated. It's like doesn't matter. It was set up to do that. It's been that the whole time.
Infiltration.
You were tricked.
Even if you believe that, then you're still buying their crap, because then they're the ones who push the idea that it was infiltrated and that there's some good guys on the inside who are actually going to
fix this.
They're actually going to actually be supporting the people.
Hey, speaking about that right now,
you know?
Listen to this. This is getting off topic a little bit, but still on topic. I just recently was thinking about Matt Baker always going on Joe Rogan's podcast. You know who Matt Baker is?
Nah, but I'll tell you what, on Joe Rogan's podcast, that's always going to be something.
Listen, Linda, listen. Matt Baker is a CIA guy. And I'm telling you what, right now, I'm just going to, long story short, Matt Baker is PR for the CIA to make them seem more humanized. And he has been going on Joe Rogan's podcast, talking about his sons, talking about his kids. The CIA's not that bad.
He's pulling a Mark Zuckerberg, trying to be normal.
It's exactly. Well, he's doing
a forked tongue.
He's doing a much better job than Mark Zuckerberg, but he's the PR guy for CIA. And he's been going on Joe Rogan's podcast for years, over and over and over. Don't you think Joe Rogan got a visit or a phone call? Wake up. I didn't believe it before. I thought about it the other day. I'm like, yes. Why do you think Joe went from big conspiracy Bigfoot guy and then just hit a wall? Boom, got a Spotify deal. What happened there?
Well, because he did get a call, but when the call came through, it said, you're going to have him on the show and we're going to pay you a bunch of money to push our lies. That's what it was.
That's the Spotify deal.
Sure.
Well, he has some of the biggest names on there. He has some of the biggest names on there to try to talk about things, and they're trying to.
It's $200 million contracts.
They're also trying to normalize the idea of conspiracy theories, because now they are pushing the conspiracy theories themselves to derail people who actually are seeking truth.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening, because a lot of people now will say, I'm a conspiracy theorist, but they don't know anything about how the world really works or the battle of good and evil, because they're a conspiracy theorist and they're not somebody that's understanding the real thing that's going on here, because they've been listening to the conspiracies that have been fed to them by those who are trying to escape their own damnation.
Yeah,
Right.
no doubt.
Right.
And you know what's funny is like I see Wes Huff goes on Joe Rogan. Wes Huff goes on. This is another good topic to get into. Man, we could just go off the rails with this conversation.
Whatever y'all want.
But it's like Joe Rogan has had, it seems that he steelmans every single conversation or argument or conspiracy, which is, I guess it's necessary to an extent, but at the same time, it leaves him as a centrist and it keeps him safe. He is not faithful in anything, it doesn't seem like, besides comedy. So it's
his bio on X says believer in the dragon, so he's faithful to something.
Well, no. Oh, that's a good point. So
who's just like, yes.
Do you know why he did that? You know he did that?
Why he did
that? The commercial narrative, the mainstream narrative, why he did that, and he talks about it, is because he was having a conversation with somebody about dragons are probably real. Dragons are probably real.
Obviously.
Joy Behar
goes
on The View or whatever, and she says, this guy, don't listen to this guy. He's a right-winger. He believes in dragons. That's stupid. And so Joe, out of spite, said believer in dragons. But when you look at it from a Christian perspective, you're like,
well, Satan. Look at his logo. It's literally him having the third eye right here, which is Satan's eye, the eye of Horus. Yes. I mean, come on, buddy.
Yes.
I mean, their symbolism is their downfall. Manly P. Hall said this about himself and the rest of his team, right?
And just like you said with Aleister Crowley earlier, they have to disclose.
I read their stuff because they're doing that. They're telling me what their plan is. I don't read it and think, oh, this is the truth. I read it to see, oh, this is how they're trying to kill us. This is what their agenda is.
Why was Joe at Antoine LaVey's son's wedding, taking pictures with him? Why was he there?
Because he's a believer in the dragon.
He went there as a spoof, like, oh, I just went there with Eddie Bravo, like thinking it's funny, like, we got invited. Oh, how'd you have those connections, bud? And you're believing dragon? Wow, yeah.
That's like when Musk says, "I wore that demon outfit for no reason, just for Halloween."
Right.
What about the other times he wears it every day?
It's always out of spite. They say, you know what? The reason why Elon wore that is because everybody was, the Christians and many of the Christians were claiming that he was that. So he wore that out of spite. So it's like, you own it now, bud. You're gonna. He's
fighting his own soul doing things like that.
Yeah. What's interesting is lately there's been some viral clips going around of Wes Huff talking about his experience on JRE.
They're making him big.
Well, yes,
they're making him big,
but he's also claiming in this video clip that he still has a solid relationship with Joe Rogan. He's on a
goes to church. Joe Rogan goes to church now.
All that kind of stuff. It's such a church. Well, I don't know, right? He also said on his podcast. Again, I'm not protecting anybody here, but he said on his podcast that he was talking about the Big Bang and that, scientists and evolutionists today, they claim one miracle and that's the Big Bang. And he's like, but I'm going to side with Jesus or something like that. He's like, I'm going to.
Yeah, I saw that.
They discredit Christ's resurrection. And then, like he's saying that the scientists,
are
discrediting Christ's resurrection.
Right.
But you guys believe in a Big Bang? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go with Christ.
I like that.
So, which was cool. I think God's tugging at him, but I still think he's under the influence of these spiritual forces that we can't see. We don't even have a sensory system to detect.
This is why
hopefully he figures
we talked about orchestration.
Sure, hopefully.
We talk about orchestration, and we talk about people that don't know. Hey, they're not in the know. It's not really a script that they're following. They're actually brainwashed and manipulated. Maybe Joe doesn't realize what he's been doing the whole time. Maybe he doesn't realize now.
Sure.
Maybe he doesn't realize why he got the $100 million contract.
Until he looks back at it and sees the whole chess game played out, and he goes, "Oh, I know why that move was done. I can see the reason why, because Queen,
or maybe he
checkmate,
knows.
Right?
Why are you at Antoine LaVey's son's wedding?
Like, it's fascinating.
Well,
I don't know.
It's
crazy. That's wild.
What is it that they say? They say, we place people in positions that we need them to fill to, play out our role for them, or their role
Right.
for us,
Absolutely.
And so they create scenarios. They have actors, they have plants, they have podcasters, they have people on the inside, they have Ian Carroll, they have, Stu the Jew Peers and all
Slow
them.
down.
They have these people talking about this and that.
Slow down. You're spitting out Ian Carroll. Dude, everybody's had their... What do you think about Ian Carroll?
He got so big, but he still runs from the real stuff like they all do.
Like
now, well, why would Ian Carroll wear? And I think it's alleged that he claims to have done this purposely. But still, why would you troll the people on the internet and your fans by doing a podcast episode with a Kabbalah red bracelet? Like, why would you do that?
He said that?
It's
I don't know
alleged.
about this.
I don't know who
Jesse.
said it. I don't even know if it's true. But this is
he just was wearing. He was wearing a red bracelet, and people point out that other people that are always generally somebody on the inside working for the enemy, masquerading as a truth teller.
It really is
actually showing their real allegiance and putting that on screen. Now, see, I don't know. I saw that he had posted a video joking about it, saying, me and my girl got the same one. Hers is a different color. Mine's red. It's just the evil eye thing. But at the end of the day,
Exactly.
I read sure as hell wasn't a cross on his wrist, I'll tell you that.
Right. I read the little red string book.
And that's what I would want to see from people. Come on, baby.
I read the 80-page book, the little book or whatever it's called, and I took it in and found it harmless and fascinating years ago. And I thought about it. I'm thinking of the symbology now, and I'm like, yeah, dude, that's knowing about everything now is pretty it's disturbing, to say the least. But so Ian Carroll was Stevie, he wore, and you know about this too, Harley. He actually wore a red string on his wrist to troll his fans. He said that?
I don't know.
No. He was just wearing it when people pointed out that means that he might be, a double agent. Then he played it off and said, "Me and my girl got the same one. It's not a Kabbalah bracelet."
Yeah, I'm saying, why would you do that? Why would you?
He doesn't. This goes back to he probably doesn't even know. Like he knows about.
No, he knows, bro. He
knows quite a bit. But whatever.
So real quick, he's made.
You're probably right. He's
made content.
Whatever.
Not only about shampoo or body washes or who
giving
owns
him a break,
everything in the store. He's made content.
Jesse always give him the benefit of the doubt.
He's intelligent.
He's a nice guy.
Am I muted?
Yeah. No, you're not muted. We're just talking
shut up
you.
when I'm trying to talk. All right? No, I was kidding.
Go ahead, Steve.
But the thing is, dude, is I feel like it was in the back of his head, right? If he's a conspiracy theorist, he's obviously come across the path of the Kabbalah red bracelet, right?
Sure.
It's just a thing, right? If you know about the Illuminati, you've dug into that.
They use their hand symbols in what they wear to tell you.
But, do I think Ian Carroll is an industry plant? Could be.
Kind of.
Could be. It really could be.
A lot of them are.
You know what's fascinating about the Bible, right? The Bible says everything in darkness will be brought to light. And it's funny that we have these kinds of conversations after these people have been in the public realm for 2 to 3, 4 years. Have you noticed that things run out? Like people phase out of this like trendiness through social media unless they concrete down and create.
They're not following the script. Right.
If they're a good slave long enough, they'll keep giving them a few shekels to get them on the leash longer.
Right.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Dude, hey. So Sam Tripoli always...
That's why Prince tattooed slave on his forehead.
Yes, jeez. Dude, Sam Tripoli always brings up, and he doesn't anymore. I haven't heard him. I watch his podcast almost religiously. And he always used to bring up this one comedian that he really thinks is an operative. And he's a very famous guy, but he never has said his name. And he has said multiple times that it's not Joe Rogan. But regardless of that, it's just funny that these inside guys, and I love Sam. I wish we could have Sam on. I hope we could have Sam on one day, or XG, or Johnny. Like, I love those guys. I think it's a great podcast. But it's like they do have inside information, and it's kind of funny. It's like, it's controlled. All of this is controlled.
Many of the big podcasts are, and that's a guarantee. And people always have to be looking out for that, because you have to assume every time that if it's getting pushed, that who's pushing it, who controls what gets pushed, and who controls what gets silenced.
Right.
And so the people who are getting pushed by the same people that they're exposing. Yeah. Oftentimes, I would think that that's foolish.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that there is none, because there is tons of people that are real warriors for truth, some of which you guys have had on the show, which are wonderful.
Yeah.
And I love their stuff. And I'm not saying that they're a double op, but a lot of these people are obviously double agents, and that's why it tells us, be wary of false prophets. Mm-hmm. The angel and his followers will masquerade as angels of light.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right, man. And I mean there's there's the world is changing. It's in a molding process right now.
Always has been.
And I think with the next advancement with this golden age, I think the golden age is a plan. And I think it's a multi-step plan. But I do think that step one in the golden age is this new AI kind of surveillance state, which
I disagree.
It's going to be
bad.
Yes, I disagree, because I think it's like step 4 or 5. You know what I mean? I think there's already been steps leading us to that, is what I'm saying. That's all.
Well, the golden age, you have to understand, is like a utopia where people think of socialism in such a way that it looks beautiful. Well, just think of that, or I mean, even communism. But the people are gonna be provided for. This has been talked about, and Elon Musk has talked about universal income and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's horrifying.
You give people.
He says it's needed, and it makes sense.
Yeah,
listen.
Bro.
You give people bread and circus, and they will never revolt. You give someone a free check, and
they're never going to question it.
Never going to happen.
Look at welfare.
Are you serious?
Look at welfare. Look at all of the subsidies.
People take advantage.
I want to play this clip for you guys.
The government should never be the teat that you suck for everything.
Yes.
At some point you have to. I would say the best government is the one who is involved the least. And a real patriot is somebody who protects themselves and their family from the government. Yeah. You know what I mean?
If I always gave you crutches, you'd never learn how to walk,
Right.
So if people don't know, AI is going to take over the world. It's going to be just like the movies. And Oracle is one of the companies that's going to get us to that point. Okay. Oracle is ran by Larry Ellison. He's the CEO of this AI engine. This software that runs a lot of this stuff. So this is a clip from a news agency, whatever. They're covering a story, but it's Larry Ellison here. I'm going to pull it up, and we're going to full screen this.
That guy looks so creepy.
Does this even look good?
Go get more Botox, bud.
All right, so here, we'll just play it like this. All right.
Will be part of our everyday lives. Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison predicts AI surveillance will be part of our everyday lives in the future. During a recent Oracle Q&A, Ellison said AI will soon play a major role in monitoring society through a vast network of interconnected cameras, including security systems, police body cams, and vehicle dash cams.
Everyone would see it. Your body cams will be transmitting that. The police will be on their best behavior, because we're constantly recording, watching and recording everything that's going on. Citizens will be on their best behavior, because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on.
Ellison's vision is for AI to analyze data from this network of cameras in real time in an attempt to prevent crime, while also tracking and influencing public behavior for a safer society. However, the idea raises serious privacy concerns. Critics argue it could lead to a surveillance state with constant monitoring infringing on personal privacy rights, while others say it could help solve crimes faster and provide transparency to citizens in cases of excessive force from law enforcement.
We're going to have supervision. In other words, every police officer is going to be supervised at all times.
Ellison's proposal highlights a growing trend among tech giants to harness AI for societal influence, which may significantly reshape our lives in the coming years. For more unbiased updates.
Oh no, found that interesting, boys. Found that
interesting.
This is also what I didn't show. Is he also talks about what the body cameras are going to kind of consist of, how much they cost, what it's going to look like. An average camera that's used for, and this is his words, not mine, but an average camera used on the street for a cop is $7,000.
Wow, really?
Camera. And I don't know how I can believe that, but because I
I
know
don't.
some cameras and stuff, but whatever.
It's like one of those military
Maybe if it's going to be
budgets.
collecting the data
says-
24/7 back to the demonic hive mind,
It's a hive
recording
mind.
everything, then
The whole point of this is hive mind. I'm glad you brought that up.
yeah.
You're on it, dude. You're on it. So
Yeah.
So these body cameras, it's going to, and this is where I think I'm making a connection here with the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, what he said about 7 years ago in an interview where he talked about technology being embedded into clothes. Okay.
I watched that interview.
I didn't understand. I was like, what is it? I kept thinking of like a digital ID technology.
That's your black spider suit, buddy.
But if you think about it, you could probably get cameras put on clothes and this becomes part of the merchandise in the society, right? And it's just cameras put in everything. I say this because Larry Ellison says that their cameras, that's also software AI,
right?
They'll never turn off. They don't run. They don't turn off, and they'll cost $70.
Ran on 0-point energy.
Yo. Sorry, go ahead. I just thought of an amazing story that is just, this story was written back in the day. Not so long, but it's old. It's an older story. Oh, my bad there. Hit my mic. And it's called Harrison Bergeron. It's a very short story.
That sounds
Have you ever read Harrison Bergeron?
I think I know you're talking about.
Harrison Bergeron is a story where the society is completely, entirely controlled by the government, entirely, so much that if you have something that is better, if you're faster than somebody, then you have to wear weights on your feet. If you're stronger than other people, you have to carry around like a backpack with weights in it.
Marxism,
right? And guess what? They have a little a thing in your ear. It's literally an earbud. This guy was talking about earbuds way before, right? And he said that the government had a standard issued one that goes in every person's ears, and if you take it out, the cops immediately come and arrest you, and the punishment is severe. And so it rings every 15 seconds to make sure you never think about something consistently enough to have a real individual, deep, independent thought. So you have that blasting your ears, and you have intentional, what's the word? I just forget, for if you're disabilities that the government puts on you, to make sure that you aren't what you're supposed to be, so that everybody has a completely level, equal playing field under this dictator government where they're all militant. And the guy fights back against him, and they kill him, and it's this crazy battle. It's crazy.
So Kurt Von, here's the overview. Kurt Von Gutt Jr.'s Harrison Bergeron is a dystopian short story set in the year 2081 in America, where the government enforces equality through handicaps that suppress the strengths and intelligence of skilled citizens. The story centers on a 14-year-old Harrison Bergeron, handsome, strong, intelligent young man who embodies a human desire for freedom and individuality. Wow. That, I'm going to look into that because there's a movie about it.
It's a super short story, just a few pages.
There's a movie about it too in 1995.
It's similar to like Fahrenheit 451 kind of.
Yes, it sounds like it.
Well, like a George Orwell, right?
Right. 1984 sort of thing. That's right.
Real quick, if they would just make these movies now, because they don't.
What's one is a great book that I would suggest people read. Go ahead, Steve.
You know what they're doing with movies now, Jesse? Dude, they're taking things out of movies now.
Like
the Robin Hood movie. They took the beginning
Netflix
quote out because it leads
in America. They're censoring.
They did that with the Passion of the Christ on Netflix, because Netflix never wants anything to be about Jesus. They'll push everything besides that, especially if it's satanic beyond belief.
Right.
Real
quick,
they remove the quote at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, I wanted to mention this with the whole Larry Ellison thing and these body cams. We were getting into
insane,
like
Steve.
Clothing and stuff. I like where we're going with this. Fascinating thing that he said later on in that interview is he says when you have to go to the bathroom, the AI will, and it doesn't turn off, but it'll take that footage and put it in a vault where only
who's deciding what goes in the vault?
Listen to this. Where it can only be court ordered to access.
Yes.
But it's there. Guys, we're talking like a Snapchat kind of like.
And who's the court working with on that?
No. It depends on legislation.
How corrupt the judicial
Washington
system
State just I talked about this in the never to be disclosed episode that me and Stevie did. Washington State just passed legislation that they can pull your medical records without having to get consent from anybody.
Wow.
So what does that tell you? But anyways, yeah, that's like, that reminds me of that. It's like, oh, we're gonna put it in a vault. We're gonna put that
it's gonna be in safe hands, away from you, and in their hands. Sure. Safe claws.
Sure. Ridiculous.
Wow.
Man,
Insane,
that's insane, Steve.
It is
Thanks
insane.
for sharing that.
We are in 1984, fellas. We are here.
Well, he's talking about listening devices on the shirt, listening devices in the cheese. Doesn't sound too far off, no?
We're arriving to the beginning.
They put pestilence. They put pestilence in all of the animals, right? They inject it into the cattle and into the plants and things like that as well, and they genetically splice that in, and then we consume it unknowingly.
What do you mean by that? Describe that. You said you put pestilence. What do you mean by that? They put pestilence into the injections.
Yeah, you can't say that, but that's the word I'm using in place of it.
I gotcha. I gotcha.
Try to censor.
He's looking out.
I was about to mess up, but then I half word.
That a boy. Let's go.
But
less editing for Stevie.
Yeah, good job. Sorry, Steve.
Isn't that so sad how we have to be censored? We can't even
how
really
threatening is the truth?
We're not censored on Spotify though. Like they don't know about us yet.
That stuff doesn't give a.
You know what I just heard the other day though? I just heard from shout out to the Strange Brew podcast.
They're good.
Yeah, he's a bit vulgar, and they're more like the Nephilim Death Squad. The guy's good though. He's a good interviewer. And it's the first time I listened to him. I listened to him on Dustin Nemos he had on, which we're going to have on.
I listened to that. That was crazy on the Seed War.
Yeah, all that,
yeah.
So we're going to have Dustin Nemos on Monday.
Great.
And I think we'll post it on Wednesday. But regardless of that, he was talking about even a small channel like his being censored on Spotify at one point. And it's like, there's
his is going to get censored because he really goes there.
Yes,
he really goes there, and I a lot of the stuff that I would say, I would say similar things the same way. I don't care, I just had to be careful.
Me and Stevie talked about that earlier. We're like,
if it's biblical terminology to describe them as the synagogue of Satan, and Jesus Christ himself called them that, I don't find any fault in myself doing the same if we're supposed to walk like Christ.
We can be tricky about it. We can, just like what you just did, we can be tricky about it and say the same thing. And that's what we have to do. We have to walk on eggshells in a way, but at the same time, we have to walk in truth.
Yeah, it is,
but we can do it.
Listen, but that's the persecution of the truth.
That's right.
We know Christ is the truth. He's the way. And if we're doing anything for his benefit or the world's benefit, we're gonna get criticized. We're gonna get persecuted. They're gonna hate us. Everything for it. And really, a lot of this stuff just keeps revolving around Christ, man. All these times.
What doesn't?
Reality.
You know what's crazy is that I literally I struggled with faith forever until now, and now my wife is engulfed. My son, he's 8 years old. He tells me he loves Jesus. I mean, I'm. My faith in my household is just pouring out. It's. I feel like crying a little bit right now. But what really brought me to believe and be faithful more is the moment I bring up my podcast or Jesus Christ to my loved ones or friends, and some of them, they just immediately snap. I see the demons come out of them, and I'm like, crazy, "Hey, bud." Man. I'm like, "Hey, buddy." You're making my faith stronger, and I don't want to argue with you. One and two, I see the demons coming at you, bud.
Seriously,
and I don't know, I can't help you. And it's like, why are you so angry? You can't even tell me why you're angry. The fact that I love Jesus Christ, like you can't even tell me.
If it was that you were any other religion, nobody would care.
Nobody would care.
But if you're a Christian, then you're persecuted beyond belief. Because it's true, and the world hates the truth. It killed the truth, and it's trying to kill those who talk about the truth.
What they're doing right now to destroy the Christian faith and religion is they're bringing in the Israel conflict with Palestine, right? And they're going, these guys are the ones that are being prosecuted, which is very true. Mm-hmm. But in reality, what's not on the news all the time is Christian prosecution. That has been going on since the beginning of Christianity.
Right. I really wonder how it's going to play out when all the nations go to war with Israel and this
it's very close. We're close.
Peace treaty takes place. That's when the Noahide thing, I think, is gonna come into play.
Yes.
Yeah. And how can you get around it, folks? How can you not submit to it when there's an F-47 flying in the air and there's no human in it?
Well, we'll die like lions and we'll live tomorrow in paradise and forever.
And you have the government claiming,
that's what we'll do.
4 years ago, 5 years ago, don't you revolt. We've got military jets.
Yes.
We've got,
remember.
We've got a Navy and we've got...
You can't fight us.
What?
Yeah.
Coming from the people running this country.
Yes.
Sworn to take an oath.
Did I bring up Kanye West yet?
No. Let's go.
So Harley.
Mm-hmm.
I did not believe, and I think Nephilim Death Squad really, we went on their podcast, or it was one of the times that we went on theirs. They came, regardless. Raven, the Raven. I think his name's David, right, Stevie?
Yeah, David Lee Corbo.
David Lee Corbo. So David was talking about how he believes that Kanye is a part of this special intelligence that's ushering in this kind of ability to go, look at this guy, one of the greatest American and whatever artists of all time in human history. This guy is gone super far right. He loves Mr. I shouldn't even call him. He's just going crazy.
The Golden Dawn.
He's going crazy, bro. And I think that Kanye might actually be, I think David might be right, and Top, he might actually be a part of this ushering in of the laws of the whole agenda, really.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about Kanye? You agree?
Boom. That's a good one to bring up because he's a topic that people do care about,
Right.
And, they do try to make him look like he's totally insane. And, he does act kind of totally insane, but it's all an act. That's why I said he acts insane, right? These people are put in these positions. The guy stayed relevant even after he did what he did because he's supposed to be, guys. They're playing both sides. That's the whole point. That's why they're Republican and Democrat.
It's so funny?
You know what I mean?
In order to push something straight, you have to corral it left and right.
And walk the narrow path of truth between both, right? And separate all the lies. Right, and be the sword that divides it, like Christ is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I think is the same thing that you're kind of saying. I don't know about his being super intelligent or not in this covert intelligence unit kind of thing. I don't know about any of that. I haven't looked into that, but I will say
none of us
that
do.
people, yeah. But I'm not surprised by.
Well,
it
you go from running a church, loving Jesus, then you meet with Trump. And then you're like, what did you talk about with Trump? Did you talk in the private? It's just, it all lines up too well.
What
Anyways,
people like him are out there for.
Right.
And there's other people out there like this too. Right. And I don't know about saying names because I'm not trying to do the wrong thing, but I could name some, but there are people
name them.
out
Describe
there.
their skin
You're
color.
Here.
Just kidding.
Oh my goodness.
Bro, there are people that are getting used
just say their name. Well, we can edit all this out.
Like Kanye, right?
No. We can edit it out.
Another
Say what
is
you want to
Candace
say.
Owens. Another is Candace Owens. Straight
what do you think
up,
about
bro.
Candace Owens? What do you think
Candace Owens is another one. Look who Candace Owens married herself to. Look what she married into. Look at her photos in the Masonic church walking on the checkerboard. Look at her constantly trolling us about her allegiance to Satan. And then she goes on here and pretends as if she's going to be, a real big truth teller and a threat to the synagogue of Satan by
now people
talking
will combat
about, what they're doing out there. I don't care.
Now, Harley,
They
people
can't
will
deny who
combat
she
that.
married into.
They will say that Candace Owens has openly stated that Jesus Christ is Lord and her Savior. She has openly stated, but what does that mean? Like,
so have all the presidents that were Freemasons to the 33rd degree, which means that they believe that the god of light is Lucifer. So if they're going to get sworn in on a blood oath, they don't give a dang about putting their hand on the Bible and lying. Heck, Trump didn't even touch it when he got inaugurated. And he's the MAGA. Look at that position, right? The head of the Satanic Church.
Magician, the warlock.
Right.
Now it is proposed that Trump didn't. It is proposed that Trump didn't do that because something where like it's not.
There's always an excuse.
Whether he did or didn't, it wouldn't make any difference. I mean, they're all actors playing a part. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember when this did happen. I reached out to Jesse and I was like, look at this. But obviously there's an opposing narrative to the conspiracy, right? Of why he didn't do it, but. If you're a faithful man, if Christ
you love
is your
the Lord and you're
Savior,
going to be the president, you put your hand on the Bible and you won't touch that what you call in Israel.
Yeah, you know how convicted you would be not putting your hand on the Bible? I know I would.
Are you kidding me?
I'm gonna stand for
you remember Bart Seibel walking up to all the guys, put your right hand on the Bible and tell me that we went to the moon and
tell me we walked on the moon.
Yeah.
They won't do it and they get upset because the demons get upset, don't they?
With 1/1,000,000th of the computing power of a cell phone,
every single person who ever stepped on the moon was a Freemason.
Ooh.
And everything about space travel is a space religion. That's all a ritual celebration to worship the fallen angels and the knowledge they gifted mankind when we sacrificed to them.
Okay, what about Katy Perry? What you think about Katy Perry?
They never went to the moon. That's the biggest hogwash anybody's ever seen. If you believe that, come on.
What do you think about the Katy Perry flight?
She was literally symbolizing all her,
Ishtar?
all of that. This divine female feminine, which is basically Lucifer, the female emanation of Lucifer, Ishtar, Isis, whatever you want to call her. Astaroth. She's got a trillion names.
Right.
She's putting up her monarch symbolism up over the eye, and she's got her deal with the flowers, showing that she is a MK Ultra extenuation plant that's just been subjected and victimized to their sadistic torture from a young age, placed in this position of power as a plant for them, to always be influencing the media to not realize that she's really working for the enemies, and we're going to keep on buying money, go to her shows, and supporting people that are inside agents for Satan.
Yep.
And that's all that was about.
And it's bread and circus. They keep you distracted with the entertainment. It's simple, guys. It's real simple.
Lucifer's the god of music. Look at who runs Hollywood. It's literally called Babylon. When you get the award for your movie, the golden statue, it's literally Osiris, straight out of Egypt. And it's the same Masonic, ritualistic horse crap on a giant stage in front of everybody's eyes to mock us to consent to our own deception.
Yep.
And people like Kanye are only in those positions to lure out people who are going to be critical of Israel so that they're going to be targeted in this surveillance state and be punished. People that tell the truth about it.
I think it's coming real soon, guys. I think it's coming.
I'm worried about it coming soon, but at the same time, we're not supposed to worry. But
we're already censoring we're kind of used to it. We're already censoring ourselves right now. We're going to go in and we're going to go in and actually take out words from this podcast. We're going to go
do it all the time.
Steve's got us
pretty good at it. Yeah,
Steve's
episode. Got us. He's pretty good.
Yeah,
at it.
I just literally search the words, man, and just mute them. Yeah, no, it's no biggie at all. Really, it's the lifestyle that we have to kind of not conform to, but we've just got to navigate this way.
We got to navigate it.
It says we're supposed to be as wise as serpents. And that his people will perish from lack of knowledge. So we're going to be smart about how we get the truth out.
Right.
We want to be honest.
I always, before I came to real faith, I always said to people, because I always wanted to make money. I always wanted to start my own business. I cannot stand the corporate world. I cannot stand these guys and how they operate. And I always said, I got to put on the suit too. And I'm going to do it with a smile. And I always said, like during the 2019 problems that we had you can edit that out. But I always said, they come to my front door, I'm going to put on blue gloves and a mask, and I'm going to act like them and be afraid and pretend to be afraid. But it's just like, you got to play the game. You got to be as wise as serpents. That's exactly what it is.
We're called to be that way,
Yeah, man.
Summoned from corners of the earth to do just that.
Wow.
Yeah. So you pre-show, you flashed Gary Wayne's second book, huh? You dig into it yet or what?
Oh, I'm all over it. Come on now.
Are you?
Oh, he is.
What is
he
it?
is.
I think it's
I'm all
80,
over it.
84 chapters or something. Just slightly
Yeah, I think the
smaller
second
than
book's
first.
like 750 pages. The first like 800.
Yeah, it's just 100 pages.
It's a breezy read.
Yeah.
Super easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
The people with the audio book that are reading for him.
Oh my gosh.
You
got to have the physical one. There's just so much information. It's almost like a codex of the truth behind many conspiracy theories people question about. You've got vampires, fairies, elves. You've got it all, man. It's all right there. I love it.
Yeah, it's the antediluvian.
You got to sip on it, because it's just
no doubt.
much. You got to sip on it,
Well, it's great when you said earlier, like when you're talking about Lord of the Rings, it's like he talks. That's what this is. Like we're talking about Lord of the Rings. Like
I listened to a wonderful podcast with him and Vicky Joy, kind of talking about how this was all about, like what Lord of the Rings talks about, all these same things, and the truth behind he and other authors who were placed again in positions of power by the demons, funded by the enemy.
Wow.
To push and glorify this worship of the fallen angels and this idea of bringing back that mystical, antediluvian world, and this is all the promotion of Atlantis, like he talked about, people in the last 60 years really pushing that. And you see it now all the time everywhere.
Why do you think Harry Potter blew up?
Harry Potter blew up because I've read that the author of that book actually was a Thelemite occultist.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
The Aleister
She was
Crowley.
in Thelema.
Yeah.
Aleister Crowley.
And
I mean, that's real.
Yeah. Like,
but that's what I read. I don't know.
Dude, don't even trip, man. Like this, how
But when you watch those, there's a lot in there.
Dude,
I tell you, I recognize it.
The script with all those movies, whatever, part 1 through 8.
Making magic and the occult and demon worship and demonology fun. Oh, yeah. It's fun. Kids get into it. Draw your symbols. Spell this and that. And all. Yeah. That's all garbage.
Kids don't even know what alchemy is, but they know what
Here we go.
Harry Potter is. They know what Harry Potter is.
You hit the trigger word, alchemy. What are we going to talk about now?
Well, I want to bring something up here. We're going to screen share because this is the next story I think we're going to get into.
I already knew. Right when you said alchemy, I was like, I know.
I'm all over alchemy. Let's do it.
So let me get this going here. Again, I'm kind of like still new to this stuff and I suck, but we're all right.
Nice lightsaber though, bro.
Hey, the lightsaber is beaming,
pretty
dude.
Dope.
Yeah, there's a hole in my roof. It's just, it's like 5 feet tall. Go big or go home. So this is an interesting article, and this is off of Scientific American, and it's
gold ions from lead.
Yeah, it says physicists turn lead into gold for a fraction of a second.
This is the philosopher's stone being made public.
Wow.
That's how wide open they are with their agenda.
Yeah.
To play God.
It's
to
wild
transcend humankind and be this God.
Transmutation.
Wow.
When you fusing the iron to gold. What's iron, baby? That's the enemy.
Oh, wow.
Right? And so you becoming gold by fusing with the enemy, one with Satan, full Rosicrucian, right?
Wow.
You're completely possessed at this point when you've, like Lucy, right? You've upped the ranks, you've climbed the ladder, you've reached Gnosis, right?
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to read this for the people that are listening. So the dream of the 17th century alchemists has been realized by physicists at the Large Hadron Collider, the LHC, who have turned lead into gold, albeit for only a fraction of a second and at tremendous cost. Sorry, folks, I'm reading this off a teleprompter. It's super small. Let me get this on the other screen here. But just with that alone, and we obviously know, right, the Largest Hadron Collider is CERN.
And CERN is another name for Satan.
I believe
literally.
That. I believe
and
that.
where
it
is
Gary
it
Wayne
located?
says that.
And where's it located?
Switzerland.
He does.
It's literally on the portal to hell where Abaddon's coming out of. That's literally what's going on at Geneva right there.
You heard it here first, folks.
It's literally what's happening at Geneva. That is the portal that things are crawling out of when Satan really unleashes his army on the world.
Right. So it says
That's
here,
literally what's happening there.
It says the not so mysterious transmutation happened at CERN, Europe's particle physics laboratory near Geneva, Switzerland, just like you just said, where the multi-billion-dollar LHC, Large Hadron Collider, smashes together ions of lead for a portion of each experimental run. Early chemists hope to turn abundant lead into precious gold, but differences in proton number between the elements made that impossible by chemical means. So they did it for a fraction of a second. It didn't sustain. Again, this is kind of like the same stupid narrative with, not stupid, but it's the same narrative with element 115. Kind of follow me there? Element 115 being the
Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar, right? The Bob Lazar.
Now,
story.
there's a video of Bob having that element and then bending light with it. No doubt, no doubt. And you know what? I didn't want to believe it before. Okay,
I used to watch his stuff before I realized.
Do you know, Harley? Do you know the story? And I'm sure you do, about Bob Lazar in Las Vegas and the apartment complex where he cut a hole up in the wall to run a prostitute operation.
Nah.
You don't know about that?
I don't know about that.
Really?
Yes.
So
Dang,
Bob Lazar,
come on,
get
Bob.
into this, Jesse. Get into this. I'll be right back.
So
continue.
Bob Lazar was short on cash, and Bob Lazar decided it was a good idea he met up with a guy that had connections with other women, and he rented out 2 apartments in probably the lower east side of Las Vegas. And he cut a hole open in the wall, so you'd walk in one door and walk out the other apartment. And that was their prostitute operation that they were running. And he got caught, and I can't remember how he got prosecuted and whatnot, but it is one of those stories where you go, man, a physicist, this intelligent guy gets caught doing this, and
real intelligent,
and he had the
through the hole in the wall.
He had the hydrogen
literally
car.
A hole in the wall.
He had a jet car that he used to drive to Los Alamos. And when you hear that and you connect all the other stories, and you're like, that's so fishy. It's so fishy. I don't put it past him. I think he might have lived that life. I think he might have done that, and I think he might have still been a physicist. I think you gotta be the role to play that kind of role. You know what I mean? You gotta actually live it. But at the same time,
he looks the part.
Yeah, what are you pushing a narrative? And my dad always says to me, he goes, he clings on to the religion is constructed by aliens narrative, which is a sacred document from that Bob Lazar came across, and that's kind of butchering that, but it's like it's a constructed, to control humans and to lie to you, and it's like, it kills me every time I hear that, because I'm like, there's,
Yeah, they tell you that
it's impossible.
The God in the Garden of Eden was a cruel, vindictive, controlling, possessive God, and he didn't want mankind to have knowledge, and so these other creatures that were the other gods, right?
They're trying to give us knowledge.
They provided that knowledge to us that brought us. They're
the good guys,
and they are the responsible for our progression and evolution,
right?
And all this garbage that they teach. We're made in the image of God,
right?
Right.
But so Harley, what about
not monkeys? The same way that they like to teach. Science is a constructed lie, where they have the minds that they put in positions that you see if you research about people like Albert Einstein, right? You research about people like Isaac Newton, what these characters actually believed in the secret satanic sex cults and things that they were a part of. You realize that the God that they're worshiping and the reason why they're pushing this was because, Sir Isaac Newton himself was after the Philosopher's Stone.
Right.
So that tells you exactly what he is as an alchemist. An alchemist doesn't believe in Jesus or the God of the Bible. Are you kidding me?
Right.
But he can turn himself into a god.
Right.
He wants to turn himself into a god. They
all
call
think they can.
God-men.
They think they can
us
achieve
mundane.
Yeah.
They call us mundane.
Sounds familiar.
They call us mortals. It's like how in Harry Potter we're called muggles. because we're not doing magic, right?
Yes.
And
They glorify Satanism and witchcraft. It's literally
real quick. They have a name for it of this process of you can see it in the Kabbalah tree. You can see that there's a way up to the top. You can see it with Freemasonry. You can see the stairway going up to heaven. You can see that there's this elevation, right? And oh snap! Just lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
The elevation when people are climbing the tree going
No,
up.
what were you mentioning? Oh my gosh.
The Truman Show.
No, before that. Jeez. That sucks. I hate that.
Philosopher's Stone. The Philosopher's Stone. People becoming a god man. Exalting themselves.
Oh, yes.
Oh, you got it?
This is the ultimate. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm getting old.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, this is the process of becoming and getting this godhood, but it's an alchemical process that they believe it to be. They do, and they call it the great work. Okay.
Yes.
They call this the great work.
The great work.
Okay, and it's mentioned by
Magnus Opus.
Yes.
Magnus Opus.
Yes. Come on, people.
Juan talks about it, bro.
Oh,
He's
Juan's
great.
awesome, dude.
I've watched your guys' show with him. It's wonderful.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Hey, so Harley brought up science is constructed and whatnot.
Yes.
Listen, man. The Rosicrucians have I can't remember which Rosicrucian, but there's a saying and there's a quote. Rosicrucians are first of the sorcerers, or last of the sorcerers, and first of the scientists.
Because what they did was they have taken magic, right, and theology or philosophy, right, and all that, and they've combining it, but really it's just ritualistic magic to gain knowledge from fallen angels and demons, and then they provide them with that information. And then they get risen up to these men of renown, right? These are the men of old, heroes of legend. These are the characters through time. Everybody recognizes these people because they themselves have reached godhood, right? And that's why the world loves them,
right?
And that's why the world hates us.
Well, I think a lot of these guys.
We know that Jesus is God, and they don't believe in Jesus, so they want to be God. It's what Satan did. They literally are Satan incarnate. That's the spirit of the Antichrist, to want to be God yourself, exalt yourself over the Creator.
When you look at the Fuel Society, and you look at how the Nazi regime came up, and you look at Hitler and the occultists, that guy, he wanted to achieve that, and he did to an extent through occultism, through the Fuel Society, through ritualism. And he's not a liked guy. A lot of these guys, I would say, they're not these occultists. They're not liked people, but their traditions have carried on. Like, for instance, my mom has said time and time again to me growing up that "do what thou wilt." She said that to me, but she thought of it in a different way. She does not know where that term came from, but it carried on. And then I find out where that term comes from years later. I'm like, that's not what it means, Mom. That's not what it means. She thought it meant something else. It's like, oh man, these guys, they live on, their traditions are carried on, and people have no clue.
Right, and you know how that term has like changed throughout time. I mean, I even think it was called YOLO at one time.
Yes,
in that generation,
you only live
YOLO.
once.
Free love. Nobody can judge me.
Drake. Yes, you only live once.
That's all. The whole hippie movement was pushed and created by the synagogue of Satan to derail everybody, to get them away from God, away from morals, and into the idea of doing what you want and living a life of celebration of sin.
Right.
That's what that's about. And that's ultimately Satan's agenda written out verbatim.
Yeah, and
people all fell for that, thinking that was liberty,
I have a question
that was
for you
redeeming,
guys.
that freed them.
I'm going to go use the potty real quick, but I have a question for you guys when I come back. Keep going. Keep talking.
And it just falls into play too when you see in the Bible and you see Christ talking, where he's talking to someone that doesn't believe that he's God or doesn't believe that he's the Christ, but they get saved in this conversation with Christ, and he goes and he says, "Sin no more." Sin no more. The devil
we told
wants
the lady, and they wanted to stone him in John.
Right.
They stone the lady for adultery.
Oh, well, yeah. But that's just the whole point I'm trying to make is, there's this accountability that we hate to take and be an advocate for ourselves over. And meaning we have to be accountable for ourselves. And when that that is demoralized from us, you have sin. You have, I mean, there's sin, otherwise, but I'm just saying that that's where you have the world in the ruins it is today. Because if they were accountable, if they did subject to the true God, then they would their actions would be different. Like
you know them by their fruit.
The fruits, right? Boom, there you go. Took the words right out of my mouth. By their fruit. I find it all interesting with everything we discussed in this podcast today. With it, I mean, just the whole. I mean, the Larry Ellis stuff is really mind blowing.
That is wild.
That's old though. I mean,
that's horrifying still. But that's only out there for predictive programming, like you say, to gear you up to get ready to embrace a surveillance state.
Yeah.
They don't. What they do is they don't invade you. They infiltrate and they slither in, these slimy demons, That's what they do. And then they change their name. They get in positions of power. They set up banking. They set up government. They're your educators. They become your religious teachers. And they're Pharisees, every one of them.
Oh.
And they should be reviled.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
The serpents.
Jesse, you're back, baby. I'm ready for that question.
This is a loaded statement / question. So this is loaded. So
let's hear.
I've been thinking more and more about lost civilizations lately. We talk about, and we can get into the little season. I think about Tartaria. I think about just fake news, missing time. And I heard a guy say basically, hey, so I'm starting this with going, you brought up the 1960s, 70s, like love movement of like the deception and the creation of LSD and it just snowballs from there. It's like into deception.
And then they push it on us, create it, and unleash it.
In the 80s.
They orchestrate it perfectly.
Yeah.
Right after the had MLK in their back pocket using him as a puppet.
It's all control, all psychological operation.
It's all,
right?
it's step
but
by
when
step.
you look at the 50s and between the early 1900s and the 50s, you got the white picket fence. After 1929, you had the Great Depression. You had people buckling down to get our country.
And what happened after the Great Depression? That we did socialism in America. We introduced socialism through the Great New Deal.
Well, that's exactly right. So this is where I'm going with this. So you had this structure of like, the 1950s, 1940s white picket fence with the family, the corporate control of you go to work, you come home, the wife stays, whatever. So I'm thinking like this is why it's so loaded, because you could just go off onto everything. But when I go to Tartaria, when you talk about all this stuff, we talk about all the bombings in World War I and World War II. We talk about the dams. And Stevie, let's pull up that video at some point here. Let's watch. I want Harley to see this if you can. If you can, please go to our other old text messages or pull it up how you did before with the dam video. We'll play that, and that's a very interesting video. But it's like, did we try to suppress history during World War I and World War II? What do you guys think about
Partially,
that?
maybe that bombing was all to destroy the buildings and the remnant architecture of these civilizations that they don't want us to know about.
What's the point of that, right?
Well, because it tells the truth that we've actually had all this intelligence, technology, and knowledge here forever, and it disproves their timeline of evolution and this progression. And so all of their thing about destroying all of the evidence of giants, right? Destroying these evidence of unsanctioned creation by the fallen, these rival creations that were here, right? All of that is because the scientists who the fundamental thing is denying God. So one thing is what Jesus and God said is wrong. I'm going to trust the wisdom of man, the wisdom of the world, instead of God's teaching, teach the direct opposite of what it says in the Bible. And then we're going to have that funded by the demons to be the generalized understanding, to become the popular opinion forever, force feed it to you in your textbooks and have everybody be taught that the Bible's not true and that science is.
And what it's doing, and love this video. This is a great video. This is Greg Reese, by the way. Greg Reese is my favorite guy from InfoWars, and he's totally, everybody's calling him black-pilled now. I was wondering where he was at. So I was wondering where Greg Reese was at. I was like, this guy, I respect him. He's somewhat religious. And I was wondering where he's at. I'm like, let me look into him. And I go to Infowars.com because they're slowly degrading and probably about to fall apart soon, I think, financially. And 5 months ago, he posted a video on Inforce. I'm like, no way. I'm like, he was posting every day. So I go to YouTube and I find this video 4 days ago. So run it. This is fascinating.
Titled Hiding the Past Dams.
The Smithsonian has collected thousands of giant skeletons and tucked them away from the public. The Egyptian government is notorious for defending their official story of the Giza pyramids. And the Chinese government has been burying several ancient pyramids beneath trees. Hiding our mysterious past and anything that challenges the official historical narrative has been going on for well over a century. My lunch break on YouTube has been showing how the construction of several dams have knowingly submerged numerous ancient ruins and archaeological sites around the world. The Ellison Dam in Turkey submerged the ancient city of Hasankeyf, which dates back 12,000 years and was a cultural crossroads of Mesopotamian, Byzantine, and Ottoman civilizations. This submersion also displaced 80,000 people when it buried their homes beneath the water. The Birasik Dam in Turkey submerged Zeugma, a major Roman and Hellenistic trading center, including several unexcavated areas. The Kaban Dam in Turkey submerged Norsun Tepe, a 40-level Bronze Age settlement that was continuously occupied from 5000 to 1000 BCE. It was barely explored before being submerged in water. In Egypt, the Aswan dams submerged over 1,000 sites, the Temple of Isis, the city of Aniba, and several other ancient monuments are now beneath over 2,000 square miles of water in Lake Nasser, one of the largest man-made lakes in the world. The face of the Abu Simbel temple was cut into pieces and reassembled 65 meters above its original footprint, while the actual temple was submerged beneath the waters. Philae, a sacred site known as the Pearl of Egypt, dating back to 300 BCE, was submerged, as were several other ancient temples, villages, and cemeteries. Approximately 50,000 Nubians were displaced when their homes were buried beneath the water. In China, the Three Gorges Dam and the Qiandao Lake Dam have submerged over 1,300 sites, including a 1,400-year-old city from the Han Dynasty. Well-preserved temples, roads, and houses were buried beneath 40 meters of water. In India, the Panchet Dam submerged the village of Telkupi and its surrounding area, including a number of temples. These temples were part of a group of ancient structures that had been located in the village for centuries, with some dating back to the 1st century AD. The Belo Monte Dam in Brazil submerged several ancient and unexcavated archaeological sites. The Mosul Dam in Iraq submerged ancient Sumerian and Babylonian ruins. And the Mornos Dam in Greece submerged the ancient city of Kallio, with temples and fortifications from the classical Greek period. These submerged sites are controlled not just by local governments, but by the United States and the United Nations.
Boom.
An archaeologist from Boston University, Ricardo J. Alia, explained how UNESCO and the United States have kept archaeologists from exploring these submerged sites by conjuring the law of the sea, underwater cultural heritage, and exclusive economic zones. Laws have been created that allow for salvage and theft, but restrict archaeologist access. Greg Reese reporting.
My guy, Greg, we should reach out to him. He went on to Sam's podcast 8 months ago.
That is mighty interesting.
It is, right? And you know what? Regardless of the timelines, we talk about 12,000 years ago. I know as Christians, a lot of Christians think that the world is only 6,000 years old. and that is fine by me. I do not have a dog in the fight with that because I don't know what to believe in with as far as timeline goes. But regardless, if we're bearing evidence, you're hiding something.
Yeah.
Obviously, making it illegal just to ask a question or try to check it out yourself.
I have an
That's crazy, and that the
yeah.
UN of all people, like if organization,
The blue hats.
God, UN, bro, you already know what they got going,
bro. And go. I love how you know how many dams he didn't talk about.
I've heard that the dams stuff is about human trafficking, bro. That's
what about
I've
the Hoover?
always heard.
What about the Hoover Dam?
Yes,
we just talked about
that.
this.
They're giant rinks for that.
You know, I wanted to move. Sorry, Stevie. I wanted to move to Boulder City in Las Vegas. It's technically not in Las Vegas, but right outside of Las Vegas. And it was designed for the people that built. It was a town that was made for the people that built the Hoover Dam. And I wanted to move there because it's a quaint place. It's a quiet place right on the river or right on the lake. And I wanted to go there because it's a quick river or lake access. And they only accept 1% per year growth or something like that. So, but regardless, it's it's a weird place, man. It's there's some secrets there, dude.
Dude, I have a lot to say.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
This is very fascinating
I'll shut up
because I am pulling in a lot of things here. I want you guys to think about this. What do you think the normal reaction people have when watching that video? What is the normal reaction that's
Harley answer? Boom.
Like what would not normal, but what do you think is like the natural reaction that someone has nowadays when they watch that? What do you think? Like, you think that they just kind of absorb this conspiracy theory and they go, yeah, they're hiding stuff. I go, why is all of this happening? Right. I don't specifically get stuck in like drawn in just to one factor of it. I think there's a lot of things playing out here. I think the purpose of hiding something like that
is to attack your faith.
Sure. I think though,
because it proves the Bible.
Sure, absolutely. I have
everything gets hidden.
I have a theory on the other side of that. It follows in line with a little bit, but could the whole purpose of this agenda seems to be the same with all those dams that he just showed, right? And we saw the law as the law of the sea, all this kind of stuff. We can't go there and all that kind of stuff. But could it be for a later date to unearth things at a later time?
Ooh.
That's why they do that.
With specific purpose. Because ever since I've dug into Project Bluebeam, I don't get steadfast on just things in the sky because it's not really
they're re-engineering what's already here.
Right, but it's not
100.
Project Bluebeam is not just a light show in the sky. It's not. There's a multi-stage it's a system of things that take place. But one of those things is archaeological findings that are false, but they claim for it to be true, basically unearthing a UFO, unearthing ancient civilization, the LiDAR photos of the 600 meters underneath the pyramids. There's things going on right now that are manipulating people to be curious.
Yeah, they want everyone to believe in aliens.
That there's a mystery brewing here. But my whole point is that I think it could be something maybe at a later date where they go and they reveal certain things that are down there that promote and advocate for this divine council or for this pantheon of gods or this UFO narrative. I think it's going to play. It could play into something.
So what's really funny about what you're saying is that if there was a dam running through, or if there was any water at all running through Göbekli Tepe, it would be underwater right now. But since there's no water running through there, the government has to control the site and shut it all down.
Very fascinating, dude. What's interesting about this, dude? That is true. Dude,
It's
what's
just like
interesting?
how NASA owns a good portion of, the Grand Canyon because it's all the Egyptian paraphernalia.
Right.
Yes.
I didn't.
Ju-
I heard
just-
about that the other day. I was like, "What? Really?"
Yeah. Listen,
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to make a connection here with the dams. The Transformers movie, right? It was how the public became disclosed to the creation to the entities of these Transformers. What happened when Megatron breaks out of the dam,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's when the whole world finally realizes, oh,
No way.
wow, we're up against machines.
Notice
Right?
that
No
he breaks
way.
out of the dam, like how it says that
breaks-
the fallen are going to be breaking out of the prison, into
Yeah,
the Euphrates
right.
when it dries up, and
Brother,
stuff
God is-
falling out of Geneva.
Listen
The
to
Holy Spirit, I don't know what it is. I'm a newbie. God is speaking to me, to us.
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
telling you, man.
Yeah.
I've
Go
been
ahead,
trying to
Dustin.
walk in the light
Yeah.
more, and I've had some pretty interesting experiences recently. And my goodness, Stevie,
Dude.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. So
I
picture
don't
this.
remember that.
I think it's a revealing rather
He's
than,
got good memory.
rather than a discovery. It's a revealing,
Right.
right? So and so that was interesting to me. It made me think about
Wow.
because again, this is all predictive program. You
Wait,
gotta
that's
mix stuff
when-
in with it.
So in Transformers, the movie, that's when the humans were disclosed to the Transformers.
Well, Megatron broke out, and he's
Right.
But,
he's
hey,
telling
but-
his other Transformers to come down, and they don't have any. They're not
No.
worrying about being in a Transformer state, like in their car state or in their tank.
Right.
They're
right, right.
literally like doing destruction, dude. They're going out and conquering their planet.
That's the true.
I'm about
that's
to
the
put it
true
together
disclosure.
right now. Hey, listen,
Okay.
boys, listen. This is
Alright.
going to
Let's
put
go.
it together
Run
right
it.
now.
Let's
Run
go.
it.
Let's go.
The story of Project Bluebeam is this. This is what they're going to tell people. And the whole story was written in Transformers. And this is going to be like, trust me, listen. So they're going to say, we have in fact been in contact with aliens and they've been here for a while, but they've been disclosed. They're undercover, right? So we're going to reveal them. And
Right.
they are going to masquerade as the good guys.
Of course.
When they have lights in the skies, that's the invasion, and the whole world is going to fear that. And this council of aliens who are playing like the good guys, right, like angels of light, they are going to say it's going to be us versus them, and we're going to protect you.
Right.
And that's the idea that they're pushing, and they're the savior characters, but they're both the enemy, playing
Wow.
both sides. And how do they hide on Earth in Transformers? As technology.
Yeah.
Technology.
You're so right. They're both
there's
the enemy.
good- There's
love it.
good Transformers
So
who are
true.
working with the government,
Yep.
pretending like they're fighting the other Transformers. And what happens? They blast off in a rocket, and the whole thing's fake.
Yeah.
Remember?
Hey, the narrative is Independence Day.
the whole
Independence
thing's
Day.
fake
Yeah.
when they go on a rocket too. It's hilarious.
It's wild, man.
Yes.
Dude. So
They tell you what the idea is right there, baby.
the last part I have here to tie in that I don't know how I have these thoughts, but so God created a flood, right? God created a flood. And in this flood, I believe he submerged a lot of fallen angel worship sites, whatever you want to call it. Right?
They're cities.
They're cities, right?
Yeah.
So God submerges, right? With all we talked about with the dam and everything, the revealing would be the inversion of submerge. It would be coming out of the water.
Ah.
Like
And-
the Beast of Revelation.
Like the beast of Revelation.
Ah.
I just found that interesting. I was like,
well, and
that's
you know,
funny.
and it says that they're going to be crawling out of the portal to the pit of hell, which is, which is Abaddon or Abaddon or whatever, which is in Geneva, which is located at CERN, the deepest lake.
Shiva,
right
right?
there.
Shiva being
Why are all the
Shiva, the
UFOs?
destroyer god, the destruction, ruin, desolate.
Why are the UFOs going in and out of the water?
The
Oh
UFOs
my
go in and out of the water. Well, think about this, right? So we know that aliens
Apparently,
are
they
actually,
like hydrogen, right?
Yeah.
we
They-
know that aliens
demons, and the demons went into the ocean.
Yes, bro. When Jesus cast out,
Right,
but
the
when
pigs.
he asked the guy, he said, and remember, it was a super powerful group of demons because they were whooping up
Legion.
on the other
Yeah.
people. And he said, "Who are you?" They said, "We are Legion."
Right.
And then they got cast out into the water. They went back to the ocean. And then Christ shows his authority over the demons by walking on the water. When you're in the water, your sin is there where the water is. And that when Christ pulls you out of the water, when you're born again, baptized and saved, then he's pulling you out of the water.
Wow.
Because the water is the spirit of Leviathan, and this moon and Lilith and all of the gods from the polytheist lens of all these other religions. Most of those gods are serpentine and fish-like, and they come up out of the water like Dagon,
interesting,
Owens, or whatever. And all these characters like the Catholic Church, and they worship the aliens because it's the fallen angels and they're demonic and satanic.
So going to the Dagon, going to the Catholics wearing those, going to the Egyptians with the headdresses that also
same
hide their,
stuff, just
hide their skulls.
On. Yeah.
So basically, we're trying to tell people that the Nephilim were here in those days, were tried to wipe out, and then now they're here, the Raphaim, and then Gary goes into that.
Yeah,
Gary,
and we were here, and they were here after.
And they were here after. So they eventually ended up becoming shorter. That the DNA was degraded, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, breeding into local face humans.
Right.
Diluting their genes.
I would agree. I would agree with that theory as well. And you look at the Egyptians and the Catholic headdress of the Dagons, and you're like, what are they hiding under their...
That Paracas skull.
Wow.
They're Paracas.
So what is that?
I'm just going to go out there and say it. All right, I am just going to go out there and say it. I don't care. Because the truth is that real science and archaeology, I believe, proves this. This is really a main thing that I study. I'm very big on it. Dustin Nimos, Victor Hugo talk about it quite a bit as well. That the Egyptian sages and these priest heads, right? They had those to cover their head.
Right.
Right. So you'll see even Hermes in the depictions, illustrations of him. He has that cranial skull. Right. All these sages out of Egypt, Greco-Roman, these god men, these shining ones, right? The illuminated
even people
ones.
Even cultures that aren't that, they wrap their heads to make their heads elongated.
That's right, because they're mimicking that, because at the time in the world, right, the people like us, we didn't know things the same way, right? We hadn't been introduced to this knowledge. Now it's more wide verse. Look at us here with the computers and stuff. But imagine back in the day, you're farming, and then these people with these giant skull heads that are giants come down, and we have this is what astrology is. This is how you worship us. This is how you make magic. This is alchemy. This is makeup. This is all this, right? This is government. We're going to civilize you. We're going to set up nations and control you. And that's what they did. And they're a separate creation. And I believe that they're the creation of the fallen angels, and they are their progeny. Wow. That is what it is.
Yes.
Yeah. And when Christ when Christ says when he speaks to the synagogue of Satan, he says, and of course they're the teachers of the elder religion, right? They're teaching the Talmudic, Babylonian, antediluvian worship of the fallen, right? Demon worship, blood drinking, human sacrifice, all that. He confronts them, of course, in front of the whole crowd. He tells them, you're the sons of the devil. Mm-hmm. You're the tares amidst the wheat. Every plant not planted by my Father will be rooted up. They're the seeds, the seed of the serpent. Every generation will be warring with the bloodlickers, the Amalekites, right?
It's a fascinating topic.
He tells them, you're the children of the devil. If your father was Abraham, you would love me, for I come from the Father. Abraham was delighted and was glad that he knew I was coming. Because you're the sons of Satan, you hate me and want to kill me. Mm-hmm. And he tells them, I am from above heaven. You are from below hell. Where I go, you cannot follow.
Yeah, it's wild, man.
And so he's literally saying, and then what's all the story about with Joshua? He says, utterly destroy these people. They are averse to all men. And he says, wipe out these tribes. And then list them. Every one of those tribes is the Nephilim. Those are the fallen. That's the fallen's children. That's their progeny. And they were killing and eating us, as it says in the book of Enoch, hunting us, drinking of our flesh, and eating our blood.
Right.
And that, of course, they were sacrificing us and doing all their practices, which is all, Babylonian, And Sodom and Gomorrah is the story that I think is very interesting, because you talked about angels, so I'll bring it up. So Sodom and Gomorrah, that city all those people were progeny of Satan and the fallen. And that's why they had a spirit that was tied back to hell, right? And so God knows everybody's heart, and he asked them, you'll save them if there's this many, this many, but they all were evil. And when the angels came, right, it says that that there's the 4 different types of angels. One of them takes on a human form. The angels of the Lord walk around on earth, and they eat food with us and things like that, and they're interacting, right, flesh and blood.
Right.
When the angels came down, the angels of the Lord, to tell him, get out because we're about to nuke this place. The men in the city all ran up, to the angel saying, hey, we want to have sex with you, and all this. You remember that?
Yeah,
and they're trying to bust the door down, that they want to have sex with the angels. Right. And that's showing you that these people are that's their religion, that's their progeny.
It's also,
and that also is why they got nuked. He says, destroy them all. And if you don't, then they're going to infiltrate you. And then he tells them in Judges 2, which is the promise of the synagogue of Satan being the ruling class on earth forever. It tells you this in Judges 2, the whole story here. And it says, I've sent you prophets, I've sent you prophets, I've sent you prophets. You've been disobedient, more so than your ancestors. So I'm no longer going to cast out the synagogue of Satan. I'm no longer going to cast out Satan's progeny and the Nephilim from you. They are going to raid you and plunder you and teach you to worship their false gods and be disobedient to me. And I'm going to allow them to do that to test my people, to grant them the kingdom. And that kingdom is not a physical one. So when the political state of Israel was set up by the Rothschilds in 48, that isn't the biblical Israel, right?
Not just the Rothschilds.
Right, but the Balfour Declaration says, Dear Lord Rothschild, for a reason.
Yeah, it's very wild, man. That's wild.
That declaration, is that from...
the promise to, have this land be given to you on top of...
Balfour this was like 1948, 47 or something.
48 right? was the founding of Israel.
Yeah, I know that, but I think he had a lot to do with it. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of funding and banking that goes behind
They
all
own
that
it.
stuff.
Oh, yeah. Dude, Prescott Bush was a part of it.
Yeah, it's
wild. There's a whole...
Prescott Bush was Knights of Malta.
Jeez. Skull and Bones, the whole gamut.
That's the Vatican's, that's
we'll
one of the
that for part 3.
Arms.
Dude, we could, we could literally go for at least another 24 hours. So
I'm sorry if I was talking too much.
Oh no, good. You're good.
No,
man.
dude, we love you, dude. You're great, man. You're very knowledgeable. You read a lot.
I love it.
And
it's fun having you on, man. You do a great job.
Awesome.
And we really all just kind of thrive in the conversation when we're all three kind of just having fun, man. But
you read a lot. Too. I listen a lot.
Yeah. Sadly, we do got to wrap it up. I am trying to catch a quick sunset with my family.
Oh,
so
adorable.
on the golf cart, but
all right,
Harley. Thank you so much, man. For
I appreciate you guys so much.
Last minute too, man, which is awesome.
Hey, pray us out. Pray us out.
Always game.
Yeah, pray us out, Harley.
You want me to do it?
Harley?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah. Go ahead. Absolutely.
All right. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Thank you, Lord, for having us all here together today. I'm very grateful to have been on the podcast. I'm extraordinarily grateful for any and all viewership. I hope that we got the word out there, we spread the message, and we expose the fruitless deeds of darkness to reveal your light to the world. Appreciate everything you've done for all of us. I love you with everything I got, and we're all here to live for you. You never died, you rose again, and you'll never die. We love you with everything. Let's go.
Let's go. Amen.
Baby. Amen.
Let's go.
Dang. Love that.
Harley, that was awesome, bro.
Love that.
Real quick, before we do we go into the next segment, just real quick, where the folks can find your social media, wherever you do content creation and stuff.
I just have an Instagram right now, but I'm going to make a YouTube, and then I'll probably have like a podcast on there, and I'll make videos where I talk about some of the similar stuff.
Nice,
but my Instagram is, that's my goal. So my Instagram is Harley, HARLEY, BRAUN, Harley Braun _.
Awesome, man. Dude, it's a great time always having you on, man. But
dude, it's a lot of fun, man. I love you, dude. Yeah, I'm excited to have you on again.
Maybe when I have my own show, you guys come on around.
Of course. Come on now.
Okay, cool.
Of course,
we're all a part of the community. It is what
awesome.
It is.
Harley Braun, everybody. Thanks again, brother, and we will see you again in the future for sure, man. For sure. Thanks, buddy.
All right,
brother.
Right, Biblical Hitman debrief. Dude, it's always freaking fun, man, having Harley on. Sorry.
He's the best.
It's awesome. I love that kid, man.
He is literally going to take... Dude, this kid is so knowledgeable, reads so much. I'm excited to to watch him flourish in this industry. Industry as in,
it's the community,
the media.
Almost, right? Community, the industry, kind of. He needs to get on with his social media, get on with his platform.
He just told me he's gonna.
Yeah. It'll be a good, awesome learning experience for him too.
We were just talking about
figure
names
out.
in the green room after the podcast. We were like sitting there talking about names for his YouTube, and I'm like, I said, pray about it and think real hard about it. Because you got to make. It's got to be unique. It's got to be catchy.
Mm-hmm. It does, man. It's got to stand out.
Yeah.
Which is I love our name.
I love our name.
I love our name.
Look at your big sign in the background.
I know.
Love it.
Golly, it's stuck. We're
Some people don't like it. They're like, no, it's conjoined with violence. Well, guess what? God killed a whole bunch of Nephilim, so shut up.
That's true. It's true, man. That's true. Man, we covered so much in this episode, folks. I hope you guys definitely strap in tight.
Strap in.
Or else the cabin has depressurized and you have flown out of the plane. Going too fast.
In.
But
Hurry up.
it's fun having him on, man. Gonna have him on again in the future. Shout out to Harley. Appreciate you, man.
That kid's awesome, man. Seriously.
Yeah. But till next time.
Probably my favorite guest.
Yeah.
He probably is.
Yeah.
I say it every time though. I'm like, oh, Joy. Oh, Vicky.
Right.
All these guys.
Right.
It's like every time I'm like, what's so funny about all our guests that we've had? I mean, we haven't had a ton. We'll get there one day. We'll have a lot more. And we've got how many episodes now? Like plus 40, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like thinking, dang, first of all, Stevie is the coordinator of all that. So I was like, all praise to you for being able to reach out to these people to get them
Just
on the podcast.
pray for me.
I will pray for you.
Ask.
I won't pray. I won't pray to you, but I will pray for you. But it's funny. Everybody we've had on the podcast, I'm like, dude, I like these people.
Yeah.
You end up getting to know them. Even after the podcast, we text them. We get personal relationships with them, and it's like, dude, we're all people. We're all trying to figure out the truth. It's a beautiful thing. It really is.
Man. Yeah, man. Dude, this was a jam-packed episode. My favorite part was the dam. Going over the dams, getting into the dams, that my theory with the dams and how my thought process was with the predictive programming and the Transformers movies. There's just so many little, clips of truth and like.
I knew you would like that.
Wild. I loved it.
I knew you would like
fun.
that.
Thank you for getting that out of me, dude.
Dude, that's such isn't it so interesting that I literally was like, where's my boy Greg at?
Yeah.
And I go on to InfoWars, nothing. 5 months ago, nothing.
Wow.
And I'm like, you know what? Immediately, it's the Holy Spirit, brother. I don't care what anybody says. I go onto YouTube. I knew exactly where to find it. Boom, there's the video. Let's go.
Yep.
Watch the video 4 days ago. Only video he's posted. What?
Yeah. Interesting.
What an interesting video. I've heard a lot of theories, and I've never seen that one.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. Super fascinating, man.
And then you bring up the Transformers with the Allspark and the Megatron in the Hoover Dam. Boom!
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, dude. You didn't even tell me that before you said it. You kept it secret. I'm like, whoa, dude.
But the subversion of the fact that this is how that maybe this Project Bluebeam is going to play out with the archaeological findings and all, it's just going to push more to this narrative that they're our gods.
Right.
They are the panspermia behind the whole idea of humans. And it's sad. It's so astronaut.
The Nordics,
like,
are our creators, and the Greys have altered our DNA.
It's going to all come in together here because that's what we see. We see that happening, and this is what's going to be coming together as this whole plan kind of just starts by layer, just unfolding.
Yeah,
wild stuff, man.
It's it's so difficult to talk about is the truth. And when you start disclosing biblical narratives mixed with all this other stuff, it's such a long book, brother. It's such a long story. It's such a complicated topic. And when you tell a normie, when you tell the normal person that has no idea about the Bible, like about some of the stuff, they just completely go, it's so far left field, bro. I can't even think about it. So come watch the podcast, please.
Right.
Please, just, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to tell them to start. It's like, I had a very spiritual experience. I don't even know. I don't even like saying the word spiritual anymore, but I had a very personal experience with coming to Jesus, and I wish everybody could have that. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here.
Amen, dude. Amen.
You wanted me to do the podcast, and I'm like, I don't really want to, but I will, because I don't, I try everything.
Yeah.
It's just kind of in my nature.
And we're here, baby.
And we're here.
We're here. We ain't going anywhere.
Oh,
there's more to come, folks. We appreciate you for hanging with us this episode.
Oh,
no. One of my favorite episodes, I will say.
Definitely. But, it was a banger.
If you want to show your support, you can subscribe, like, share, everything. We're on YouTube, Instagram, all those kinds of things. If you like the audio side of things, you can check us out on Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. While you're there, drop a follow, leave a review, hopefully a good one. We're not asking for too much, but
no, 5 stars only. Don't leave. If you leave a review and it's less than 5 stars, just go to Yelp and leave a review at a restaurant of your not liking. Just don't leave a review. If you don't like us, don't leave a review.
Come on, man.
5 stars only.
Yeah. But, we're going to be here. We got another episode in the making. And we're going to try and drop 2 here at the end of the week. So this one will be Thursday. And no, today's Thursday. This one will be Friday. We'll try and drop Sunday or something. So we'll try and catch up. But appreciate you folks. Thank you for supporting us. We love you guys. We're going to see you next time.
See you.